Chapter 1491. In the northwest region, many people had never seen Empress Ling Yao before, because she was too elusive. But if it was the Ling Yao Wonderland, even a 3- or 5-year-old child would be able to show the way. Because this independent space had a special teleportation portal, it was very symbolic. Jun Changxiao took the mine and wandered. A few days later, they appeared on the green grassland. From afar, there was a vortex between the sky and the earth, and a heavy aura spread out, making people feel awe. "Brother," Gu Zhaoxi said, "this is the Ling Yao Wonderland." "Heh," Jun Changxiao said lightly, "it's quite grand." Although the entrance to the Wonderland was open to the world, there was a restriction inside, and outsiders could not enter at all. Because it was Empress Ling Yao's territory, no one dared to set foot in the grassland. "Don't worry," Jun Changxiao sneered. "It's going to be very lively here soon." Majestic attributes of heaven and earth gathered in the mine. If it was completely released, at least half of the upper realm would be involved. When that time came, all the powerhouses and forces would come, and the scene would be as beautiful as a painting. If everyone suspected Empress Ling Yao and put her in a terrible situation, it would be even better. Hee hee. Jun Changxiao let out a strange laugh that only villains would have, and his handsome face gradually changed. "Kid." At that moment, the old man from Taishan said solemnly, "There's a formation around the vortex. We can't get too close to avoid being discovered." Jun Changxiao looked around and said, "Let's put the mine here." They were already in the territory, and distance was meaningless. However, they had to be careful when they put it, because it could easily cause a commotion. "Master," Jun Changxiao said, "continue to expand the isolation formation." The old man from Taishan waved his hands, and the formation flag turned into a stream of light and flew out, and then inserted into the grassland. Whoosh! Page landed, and its head instantly enlarged, and began to gnaw on the grass. The mineral vein needed to be buried deep, in order to be realistic. Therefore, after about 2 hours, it had eaten out a very, very deep pit. "Put it down," Jun Changxiao ordered. Hundreds of mechas slowly descended, and placed the heavy ore vein in the pit. After they filled the pit with soil again, it was as if nothing had happened. "Master," Jun Changxiao asked, "is it possible to set the array to be lifted after 1 month?" Since he had already arranged for Empress Ling Yao, he naturally hoped to see results sooner, rather than wait for half a year. Yes, Taishan immediately changed the principle of the array system, and set it to be automatically deactivated after 30 days. "Okay," Jun Changxiao snapped his fingers and said, "Return to the sect." After all, this was Empress Ling Yao's territory, and the longer he stayed here, the easier it would be for him to be discovered. Thus, it was best to get out of here as soon as possible. Swish! The ancient warship began to move, transforming into a streak of light that shot off into the distance. When they came, Go Sheng's heart ached for the magnetite. Now that he had so many real stones, he definitely didn't care. He even happily sat in the driver's seat and hummed a little tune. Rows of Flowers smiled. "That's a good hum." Jun Changxiao had a natural weakness when it came to singing, but he was fine when it came to humming. At least it wouldn't cause too much damage. Jun Changxiao had been in a good mood, but when he saw this woman walk over, he suddenly remembered what he had done at the ore vein. His entire face burned. "Why is your face red?" Rose of Flowers asked. Jun Changxiao hurriedly turned his head away and said proudly, "Who's blushing?" Rose of Flowers smiled and took a step closer, whispering, "In the future, don't do this in front of the disciples. I'll be embarrassed." Jun Changxiao roared, "This is a misunderstanding. You clearly have me in your heart. Why can't you be honest?" Rose of Flowers leaned closer, then turned her face and smiled. "Come, give me another kiss." "Fuck." Jun Changxiao pushed her away with a straight face and left the driver's seat, leaving behind one sentence. Crazy. Whoosh. The ancient warship returned the way it had come. However, it stopped when it reached the Sea of Flowers. "Master," Jun Changxiao said, "the scenery here isn't bad, right?" The Taishan elder said, "Not bad." "Then I'll have to trouble you to set up another formation, and bring the entire Sea of Flowers back to the sect of all times, Jun Changshao said. Huh. The Taishan elder was dumbfounded. He could understand bringing the Orvane to frame Empress Lingyao, but bringing the Sea of Flowers back to the sect of all times was a little strange. Grand Elder. Su Xiaoma transmitted. The patriarch's wife likes flowers. So that's why. The Taishan elder immediately understood, and said in his mind, his wife likes flowers, so he gave her a sea of flowers. This kid is really something. Buzz. The formation covered a radius of dozens of kilometers. Rumble. 100 mechas worked together to lift the Sea of Flowers and the soil into the air, and then marched back to the sect of all times. When we get back, we'll put it on Dragon Head Peak. That way, you'll be able to see as much as you want. Jun Changshao said indifferently. Of course. What I mean is, next time you go out, don't act like you've never seen the world before. System. Thank you. Rose of Flowers smiled sweetly, and her heart was filled with sweetness. She liked roses, so he planted roses everywhere. She liked a sea of flowers, so he brought back a sea of flowers. Rose of Flowers walked over and hugged Jun Changshao from behind. She pressed her face against his broad back and said softly, with a husband like this, what more could I ask for? It was a pity that Li Tiantian wasn't here, or this beautiful scene would definitely be preserved in pictures. Brother. Suddenly Gu Zhaoxi walked in. Seeing Rose of Flowers hugging Jun Changshao, he hurriedly changed his words. What are you doing? The system broke down. Every time the relationship between the two of you rises, this guy will appear. Is he being bribed by some people who don't want to eat dog food? He's here to cause trouble. As expected, the originally beautiful atmosphere dissipated with Gu Zhaoxi's arrival. Jun Changshao even pushed Rose of Flowers away and put on a dignified look. What's the matter? No. Nothing, I won't disturb you. Gu Zhaoxi immediately slipped away. He left, but the atmosphere couldn't be cultivated. The two of them even stood in the cockpit awkwardly. I know you don't want to open your heart to accept me. Rose of Flowers flipped a strand of hair on her forehead and smiled. So I won't ask for too much. I'll always be with your strong sect. He was a companion, not an assistant. So it had a different meaning. Only in front of Jun Changshao would she look like a little woman. Once she entered work mode, she was still the conscientious and swift Rose of Flowers queen. She switched between home and work with ease. Sigh. The system sighed. With a husband like this, what more could I ask for? Boom. A sea of flowers dozens of miles wide was placed in the open space opposite Dragon Head Peak. Looking from Rose of Flowers' window, it could be seen clearly. If you like roses, plant them. If you like a sea of flowers, move them. This kind of steely straight man approach was quite a bit like an overbearing CEO. Chapter 1492. After returning to the sect, the first thing Jun Changshao did was to order Li Qingyang to survey the terrain and find the best place to place the mother of real stones. Although 10 billion true stones were not bad, this thing was even more valuable because it could allow chickens to lay eggs, and eggs to lay chickens, obtaining an endless amount of resources. In the various sects, it would definitely be regarded as a priceless treasure. Not long after, Li Qingyang found a good place. Although the size of the sect of all times did not change much from the lower realm, the entire Aeon Immortal Mountain was still quite big, so it was easy to place the mother of real stones there. Page dug a deep pit in the chosen place, and the disciples built a palace-like basement inside, piling up a high platform in the center. Shwa! Jun Changshao placed the heavy mother of real stones on top, and the flowing light covering the surface began to drift irregularly, gradually seeping into the cracks of the bricks and merging into the soil. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi said, it will condense true stones soon. How long will it take? 400 to 500 years if it's fast, and 1,000 years if it's slow. Jun Changshao was speechless. This speed was too slow. If he did not complete the main mission during this period, the grass on his grave would have grown to the sky. Although the mother of real stones could nurture true stones, it needed time. For example, the previous mining vein conservatively estimated that it would take tens of thousands of years to reach such a large scale. Can I use the space-time secret realm to speed it up? Jun Changshao pondered. The system said, the acceleration effect of the secret realm is very limited. Even if it can increase the overall growth speed, it can't nurture a large number of true stones in a short time. Jun Changxiao was silent. This kind of nurturing cycle was too long, and there was no time to wait. Unless, buy goods through the system? The system said, the space-time secret realm is used for martial artists to cultivate, so it's not suitable to speed up the mother of real stones. However, if you can buy the corresponding goods, you might be able to speed up the nurturing process, such as the seed nurturing pool and nourishing soil. Jun Changxiao was silent. Although the system was suspected of promoting this time, it was exactly what he wanted. AI. Go Sheng sighed, and then opened the system store skillfully. He prayed secretly. I can only rely on this. Chapter 1. Jun Changxiao did not cheat. Once again he shamelessly used this chapter. As expected of the patriarch of the Eternal Truth Sect, the mother of real stones could bring about future prospects for the sect, so he had to find a way to increase the speed of development. Thus, even if he risked being cursed at, he had to try. Ding! Ding! He swiped it 5 times in a row, but he didn't see anything. Jun Changxiao hugged his head and said, You're forcing me to rush to the VIP section. In order to make the sect even more prosperous, Gosheng made a difficult decision and decided to activate the monthly VIP mode. Once again, he obtained 5 respawn chances, but in the end, he didn't get what he wanted. The money has already been recharged. Why haven't you given it to me yet? TSK. This kind of monthly VIP was nothing more than a first attempt. Did they really think that they would be given godly equipment at the start of the game, and that they would have to rely on fighting for higher quality equipment? Ingot received in seconds? Don't be stupid. The 5 respawn chances had been used up. If he wanted to continue, he would have to wait for the next month, or recharge for the whole year. However, he only had 200,000 contribution points, which was not allowed at all, so he could only give up. It's too difficult. Jun Changxiao said helplessly. It's too difficult for me. The mother of real stones had been settled down, but it required a lot of time to nurture real stones. It was destined that it would not be able to bring about the fastest benefits to the sect of all times. However, a powerful sect would definitely exist for a long time. Thus, it could be said that the merit was in the present and the benefits were in the future. Next, Jun Changxiao began to distribute the real stones. This kind of martial arts resource, which was of a higher grade than the profound stone, definitely could not be used for consumption. Thus, it was undoubtedly the best choice for the disciples to absorb and quickly increase their realm. 10 billion true stones. After splitting it evenly, each person could get 100,000. Of course, Jun Changxiao would definitely not share it with the disciples directly. Instead, he would first give each of them 10,000 and leave the rest in the vending machine, exchanging them with the disciples' contribution points that were rewarded by the sect's missions. The advantage of this was that he would not be negligent, because he did not reap what he sowed. Instead, he would work harder to build the sect for the sake of resources. Moreover, after coming to the upper realm, the value of the disciples' shops gradually weakened. Everyone had nowhere to spend the contribution points they earned. Now that they had real stones, their enthusiasm was greatly aroused. Junior brother, let's go do missions. Let's go. After a large number of real stones were invested in the vending machine, the sect's atmosphere of doing missions was stronger than before. Of course, Jun Changxiao would also distribute a certain amount of martial arts resources at a fixed time every month. He would not let them become mission maniacs and neglect their cultivation progress. Humanizing. It was the core of the sect. I'm speechless too. After arranging the real stones, Jun Changxiao sat in the study and said, This epic mission is too rigid. It has to wait for half a year before it's settled. It's not like you're being given it. What's the hurry? The system said. Time passed day by day. Due to the more powerful martial arts resources, the disciples' breakthrough speed increased. In just half a month, there were disciples who went from lower position to middle position, and from middle position to upper position. It's too powerful. Jun Changxiao exclaimed. The system said. Real stones are a higher level of martial arts resources. They contain heaven and earth attributes and mysteries, which are incomparable to black stones. It's reasonable that they can help disciples improve quickly. If there are Tao stones and immortal stones, won't they break through in minutes? It was difficult to satisfy the human heart. After Go Sheng experienced the power of real stones, he hoped to obtain higher-level martial arts resources to greatly improve the sect's strength. Some readers would say, how many times has the mind plot appeared? How can it not repeat itself? In fact, a large sect that exists in the world relies on the accumulation of resources. If the sect of all times wants to become stronger, it is necessary to obtain mineral veins. Even if it was in another dimension, it would still do the same. What I can do is to simplify the process as much as possible and add some new elements, such as patriarch. One day Li Qingyang exclaimed, "Come out and see the phenomenon." Jun Changshao hurriedly walked out and saw a dazzling ray of light piercing through the clouds in the northwest direction. The sight of this ray of light was extremely shocking. The Taishan old man said, "Exactly 30 days. Kikik." Jun Changshao covered his face and laughed strangely. "Empress Lingyao, I hope you like this gift of mine." The phenomenon of the mineral vein appearing in the northwest direction could be seen from the southeast. It would definitely cause a huge commotion in the upper realm. That was right. After the light shot into the sky, various regional families and sects began to move, sending their most elite martial artists to the northwest. The sudden appearance of a phenomenon meant that a treasure had appeared. Real stone vein. The real stone vein has appeared. Many powerhouses who had done research on mineral veins could tell from the appearance of the phenomenon, which caused many martial artists to go crazy. It could be said that the light that connected heaven and earth was like a burning pillar of fire, attracting countless moths to it in the most beautiful form. The trap set up by the itinerant cultivator called Crazy for Love 100 years ago seemed to be very successful today. However, he would never have thought that the ultimate move that he had been holding back for 100 years would be released today. However, the real stones and various formation systems that existed inside were dug out and forcibly closed, completely losing their value. In the beginning, Jun Changshao could have let the formation system continue to exist, but in order to avoid suffering, he had the Taishan old man close it. What was this? This was a kind of chivalry. This was a way to clear his name. The Drizzle Hall moved quickly. Members were frequently dispatched and placed in various areas, forming a communication network to pass on information. Beep beep beep. Beep beep beep. The sound of a radio station was heard frequently. Jun Changshao sat in front of the hall of the Drizzle Hall, as if he had turned into a general who had experienced hundreds of battles, and the disciples around him had turned into intelligence receivers. Patriarch, Li Luoqiu said. According to the information sent from the front line, there are already 2 powerhouses from Taoist-level sects rushing over. Their strength is at least in the truth-seeking realm. TSK. Jun Changshao touched his chin and said, "Is a real stone lode so attractive? If it was just a very ordinary small lode, the Taoist-level sects might not be serious. However, the heaven and earth phenomenon rising this time was too strong, which meant that the load must be big, so they had to be serious. Of course, heavenly materials and earthly treasures could only be obtained by fate. Many powerful itinerant cultivators also rushed over. Half a day after the phenomenon rose, no less than 50 truth-seeking realm cultivators had gathered on the green grassland. This intensity is definitely a large load. Because of the Ling Yao Wonderland, the heaven and earth attributes are not strong here. Why is there a large load? Could it be? The truth-seeking realm cultivators present were all old experts. They were immediately sure that the mother of real stones might be in the load. If so, they had to snatch it no matter what. Swish! Swish! More and more martial artists flew over from all over the world. In just a few days, the number of people increased from thousands to tens of thousands, until it grew to millions. Although Jun Changshao was not present, his spies had been set up in advance. Therefore, when he heard the news from the Drizzle Hall, he grinned and said, "This must be a big scene. Has Empress Ling Yao come out yet?" "Not yet." "Strange, There's a phenomenon in front of her door, but she can still sit still? Jun Changxiao was not in a hurry, because the show had just begun. When the heaven and earth phenomenon disappeared, and the experts went in, they would definitely be suspicious, and point the finger at Empress Ling Yao. In fact, Go Sheng's plan was not too clever. If the other party was powerful enough, they might be able to resolve it easily, but it did not matter. Jun Changxiao's goal was simple, to disgust that woman. He succeeded. Empress Ling Yao had not appeared yet, but she was in the grand hall. Her tone was a little irritated. Why would a large real stone load appear outside the wonderland for no reason? My lord. The hunchbacked old man smiled. Perhaps this is an opportunity for you. Empress Ling Yao shook her head. The appearance of the load has attracted so many forces. If something happens, I'm afraid it will affect the wonderland. In fact, she was irritated that a load had appeared in front of her door without her noticing at all. Now that the whole world knew about it, even if they wanted to get it, they would have to pay a high price. Sigh. She sighed. I'll take it one step at a time. On the green grassland, more and more martial artists and itinerant cultivators rushed over. 70% of them were just there to watch the show. They knew that a load of this level could only be obtained by someone with absolute strength. Whoosh whoosh, the light that pierced through heaven and earth continued. After about 3 days, the special effect of 100 years finally ran out. The soil that buried the load gradually cracked, and then a majestic heaven and earth attribute was released. It's out. Let's go. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, everyone rushed over and used their domineering true spirits to lift the cracked soil. If the erase system was still there, it would definitely be a beautiful scene if they accidentally touched a real stone. Whoosh whoosh. The crack expanded infinitely, and the heaven and earth attribute was even more intense. This made the powerful cultivators even more excited, and they began to imagine how many real stones there were in there. Dig, dig. Everyone was even more invested. However, when they completely opened the tunnel, and the last portion of the heaven and earth attribute ticket was sent out, they were all dumbfounded. They were in the load. Since it had just appeared, why was there a load? Could it be? Everyone hurriedly looked around the walls, and when they saw the obvious signs of excavation, they finally could not suppress their emotions and burst out in unison. Fuck, someone else got here first. Chapter 1493. Experts from all over the world had been camping in the green grassland for a few days, waiting for the phenomenon to end and the true stone mine to appear. Who would be able to accept that? They had been dug out. Someone had beaten them to it. Experts from all over the world leaned against the wall, their faces pained. They had roughly guessed from the remnants of the mine that there must have been a large number of true stones here before. Who? Someone couldn't control his emotions and roared. Who is it? The appearance of a true stone mine caused a huge commotion. Many factions and experts had spent a lot of money to rush here, only to enter such a large mine and not see a single true stone. It was undoubtedly a heavy blow. Be content. If Jun Changxiao hadn't shut down the array system in advance, not to mention true stones, they would have been blown up by now. Who else could it be? An expert said coldly. It must be Empress Ling Yao. The mineral vein was right in front of her house. She was close to the water and enjoyed the moonlight first. She could figure it out if she used her brain a little. Of course, those experts who believed that it was Empress Ling Yao who had dug out the true stones were actually blaming her. After all, such a large mine had been dug out first, so there had to be someone, even if it was a scapegoat. No wonder that woman didn't appear after the phenomenon. She had already dug out the mine, and is probably secretly laughing at us. If the mine was still in the Jade Tripod Mountains, the various experts might not have suspected Empress Ling Yao, but now that it was near the connection point, it was too easy to make the connection. In fact, they even felt like they were being toyed with. Let's go. Let's go find her. It was true that natural treasures were obtained by fate, but a large true stone mine had been dug out, so the various factions couldn't accept it. So they planned to ask Empress Ling Yao for travel expenses. Otherwise, this trip would have been wasted. Whoosh, whoosh. Streams of light flew out of the mine and hovered at the vortex connected to Empress Ling Yao. What's going on? Aren't they fighting for the mine? The passers-by were a little confused. When a true stone mine appeared, the various sects would fight for the right to mine it. Why did they fly out so peacefully as soon as they entered? Wait, why aren't there any true stones in the mine? He was poached away in advance. The experts from various forces flew out. Only then did many people dare to release their spiritual senses into the mine. When they saw that it was empty inside, their expressions immediately became sluggish. Could it be? Empress Ling Yao had dug him out. Why would a passerby think that way? This was because the experts of the various sects had all gathered at each other's doorstep. Buzz! It was then that Empress Ling Yao appeared out of thin air, shrouded in clouds and mist. Why are you standing outside my territory instead of fighting for the mine? She asked in a displeased tone. The experts of the various sects became even more furious. They felt that this woman was deliberately humiliating them. A powerhouse with a slightly irritable temper said coldly, "The true stones of the mine have all been dug out by you. So what are we still fighting for? Poached by me?" Due to the mist covering her face, he could not make out Empress Ling Yao's features. But from her tone, he could guess that she was probably in a daze right now. Actually, she had thought about it carefully before the mine had appeared. In the end, she had decided to give up on fighting for it because there were too many Dao sects, and she might end up offending them. But now, that person had really not participated in anything. And now she was saying that she had poached him? Framed. What? A Dao sect higher-up said coldly. Empress Ling Yao, you dared to do it, but you don't dare to admit it? My apologies, Empress Ling Yao said. I didn't dig the mine, so why should I admit it? She paused. Even if I did, what can you do to me? Her tone was overbearing. What she meant was that the mine had no owner. Even if she had gotten it, were they going to fight for it? However, the experts of the various sects unanimously agreed that this woman had admitted to it. Girl, one of the higher-ups said coldly, although you hold a position in the World Hall, don't think too highly of yourself. A person from the lower realm, who ascended thousands of years ago, was able to sneak into the World Hall in such a short time. Who knows what kind of underhanded methods she used? Someone next to him said disdainfully. The World Hall was very powerful in the upper realm, but it was only limited to low-level sects and itinerant cultivators. The Dao sects did not care about it at all, and would only bow their heads if the 10 great immortal sects came forward. Women, aren't those the only ways to get to the top? Someone sneered. Empress Ling Yao said coldly, you've gone too far. One of the experts said angrily, you dug up the true stone mine and purposely released the vision of heaven and earth to attract us here. Aren't you going too far? In fact, they were not being unreasonable. If the mine had been found by someone else, they would have accepted it. But you've already gotten it, yet you still released the vision of heaven and earth to attract everyone here. Cut the crap, the impatient expert said. Hurry up and give us a portion of the true stones. The other sect's intentions were simple. Since they had been tricked by you, they would not return empty-handed. At least 3 to 5, no 8 to 9 million true stones. They had underestimated this large mine. If they had known that Jun Changshao had dug up 10 billion true stones, they would have demanded a few 100 million true stones. If they had known that there were true stones, they would have fought with all their might. I don't have any true stones, how can I share them with you? Empress Ling Yao was really depressed. If she had gotten the mine, she could have shared some with them to avoid trouble. But the problem was that she had not taken anything and knew nothing. So how could she share it? Hugh. The experts of the other sects all released their cultivation. Clearly, they were using their actions to tell this woman that this was not over until they had shared the true stones. Patriarch, an intelligence agent of the sect of all times said, the experts of the other sects have all released their cultivation. They will clash with Empress Ling Yao at any time. Jun Changshao picked up the goblet next to him with his right hand and gently swirled the tea inside. He smiled and said, this feels good. Although the trick was a little low level, it seemed that the effect had far exceeded his expectations. This woman represents the realm hall after all. If she clashes with the other sects, she will probably be scolded by her superiors. She might even lose her job. The more Jun Changshao thought about it, the more comfortable he felt. Patriarch. At this moment Jing Ji, who was temporarily acting as an intelligence agent, said, "The front line sent news that a white-haired old woman suddenly appeared at the entrance of the realm." Who? Enlightened cultivator Qing Wei. Is she also here for the mine? To be worthy of an enlightened cultivator, he must be at the peak of the truth-seeking realm. It seemed that things were getting out of hand. Wait a minute. If one day I also reach the peak of the truth-seeking realm, what title should I give myself? Perfected super handsome? Perfected Jun Shui? Perfected Go Sheng? The system complained. Get lost. Patriarch. Jing Ji said. It has been confirmed that perfected Qing Wei is Empress Ling Yao's master. Jun Changshao looked stunned and said, I didn't expect this woman to have a master at the peak of the truth-seeking realm. She really can't be underestimated. Patriarch. Jingji reported again. After perfected Qing Wei appeared, the situation changed. The experts of the various sects left the green grassland one after another. They didn't fight? No. Did the woman give you any money? No. Jun Changshao leaned back in his chair and said with a broken face, This trap that I carefully set up was easily broken just because perfected Qing Wei appeared. Damn it. Go Sheng held the goblet tightly, not caring at all. However, the face reflected on it gradually changed, and a sinister smile appeared. Empress Ling Yao, this is only the first round. There will be more tricks waiting for you in the future. Sigh. The system said helplessly. I can't tell who is the protagonist and who is the villain at all. Chapter 1494. The Green Grassland. The cultivators of the various sects left one after another, and so did the spectators. The tense atmosphere faded away. All of this was thanks to the beautiful white-haired woman who was hovering in the air. She was perfected Qing Wei. It was hard to imagine that such a beautiful woman would be the demoness who had massacred her entire clan out of hatred, and was even labeled as a traitor. Wait a minute. Didn't the intelligence say it was a white-haired old woman? Why was it a white-haired beauty? The Drizzle Hall members mixed in with the spectators were too far away to determine her appearance, so they could only judge from her back and hair color. Thank you, Master. Empress Ling Yao's tone was very respectful. If perfected Qing Wei hadn't appeared, the two sides might not have fought, but they would have compromised and handed over a large number of true stones. Jun Changshao would have been very satisfied with such an outcome. At least that woman would have lost her resources. The plan had to be done step by step, and it was unrealistic to kill her directly. Perfected Qing Wei landed at the entrance of the mine and asked with her spiritual sense, Did you dig out the true stones inside? Look, even her master was suspicious. Empress Ling Yao answered honestly, No. That's strange. Perfected Qing Wei was puzzled. Such a large mine. Why is it so empty when it just appeared? Could it have been dug out by someone in advance to frame you? Empress Ling Yao guessed. She had been wondering why a mine would suddenly appear on the grassland. After all, she often came here and didn't find any clues. It was as if it had appeared out of thin air. Someone dug out the true stones and brought the mine here? Perfected Qing Wei asked. It's hard to say. Empress Ling Yao wasn't too sure. After all, who would do such a boring thing for no reason? Or was it just to disgust her? Jun Changshao was bored and had nothing better to do, so he did it to disgust her. I told you not to join the World Hall, because there are many people who hate this organization. Perfected Qing Wei said. Now that you've been framed, I'm afraid it's also because of the World Hall. Empress Ling Yao didn't say anything. Forget it. Perfected Qing Wei said. This is the path you chose. I won't interfere. I hope you can be careful in the future. Yes. Empress Ling Yao's tone was respectful throughout, and it was clear that her master still held some weight in her heart. Reverend Qing Wei said. You went to the extreme cave not long ago? Not bad. You saw Tong Guer? Yes. I heard that this old fellow has taken in a disciple called Jun Don't Cry. Jun Changshao. To be able to ascend with a mountain and an entire sect, this Jun Buxiao must be extraordinary. Empress Ling Yao corrected her. Shifu, his name is Jun Changshao. More or less, said Taoist Qing Wei. One doesn't smile, while the other smiles frequently. Their meanings are completely different. Empress Ling Yao understood her master's personality, so she didn't dwell on the name. I heard that Jimren Tonggu and Gu Hongzhenren have agreed to a 10-year duel between their disciples. Oh, Taoist Qing Wei was a bit surprised. Those two old fellows have been fighting for so long, and now they're up to something again? No, I have to go ask and see if I can participate. Empress Ling Yao said. Shifu, I have to focus on breaking through to the truth-seeking stage. I don't have time to fight with them. As soon as she finished speaking, Taoist Qing Wei disappeared. Empress Ling Yao thought to herself, she didn't really go to Jinren Tonggu, did she? She knew that her Shifu was very competitive. If she forced herself to participate in the game set up by the two seniors, as a disciple, she would definitely have to face the 10-year duel. Sigh. Empress Ling Yao sighed and landed in the empty mine. Who's scheming against me? Extreme cave. Boom. There was a loud explosion, and the entire chessboard exploded. Jinren Tonggu and Masato Kitano were in the middle of playing chess. One was furious, the other secretly delighted, and the other looked up at Taoist Qing Wei, who had suddenly appeared. Old woman, I almost won you. Jinren Tonggu was so angry that he couldn't speak. Who are you calling old? Taoist Qing Wei frowned. True spirit gradually gathered in her palm, and the special effect was instantly activated. Jinren Tonggu, who had been quite irritable, suddenly calmed down. As a martial artist of the same generation, he knew this woman very well. Once she was completely enraged, she would definitely go berserk. Humph. Jinren Tonggu waved his sleeve and said indifferently, What business do you have in my cave? I heard that you and Guhong Old Man made a 10-year duel, and the winner will be determined by the disciples taught by each other? That's right. Count me in. Jinren Tonggu was stunned. Taoist Qing Wei said, When the time comes, I will bring my disciples to fight with yours. Jinren Tonggu's mouth twitched. Your disciple, Empress Ling Yao, has already reached the 9 transformation dance stage. Isn't this bullying? Afraid of losing? Taoist Qing Wei said. Holy shit. This woman is so arrogant. Jinren Tonggu couldn't suppress his anger and said angrily, Okay, let your disciple fight for the 10-year duel. Masato Kitano was speechless in his heart. Just saying that he's afraid of losing provoked him. Is this the mentality of a peak truth-seeking realm cultivator? It's settled then. Taoist Qing Wei said. I'll go find Guhong Old Man. Swish. After saying that, she disappeared. Masato Kitano shook his head and said, I haven't seen her for many years, but this woman is still so domineering. Guhong Old Man is not a pushover either. If she really goes to find him, the two of them will probably fight, Jinren Tonggu said. You'd better care about your disciple. Masato Kitano said. There's one more 9 transformation dance stage opponent. Jinren Tonggu broke down. The gap between the two of them is so big. How can they fight? Although Jun Changxiao, who broke through to the 6th transformation, gave him an absolute shock, compared to Empress Ling Yao, he was only a little brother. Moreover, his talent was not weak either. He might even enter the truth-seeking realm within the 10-year duel. You shouldn't have agreed. It's not like you don't know that woman's bad temper. If I had refused, I'm afraid I would have already fought with her. True. No, Jinren Tonggu said. I have to quickly go to the Sect of all times and tell my disciple this unfortunate news, so that he can prepare for a beating in advance. Admitting defeat before even fighting Swordsman, there's no one else like you. Masato Kitano was speechless. Sect of all times. Jun Changxiao held his head and broke down. Swordsman, next time you come, can you tell me not to force my way in? Disciple. Jinren Tonggu said seriously, Master has bad news for you. What news? Seeing his Swordsman's serious expression, Jun Changxiao immediately became serious. Even the atmosphere of the Sect of all times became normal. There's another opponent for the 10-year duel. Who? Empress Ling Yao. What? Jun Changxiao's eyes widened. Jinren Tonggu told him about Taoist Qing Wei's visit and said encouragingly, Although the opponent is a little strong, Master believes that you can overcome it. Jun Changxiao fell silent for a moment, then lowered his head and said, Shurzuan, disciple will not fight with that woman. You're admitting defeat? Jimren Tonggu was disappointed. Although he did not think that his disciple could defeat Empress Ling Yao, as a man, he could not say no. Even if he lost, he had to lose standing. No. Jun Changshao looked up and pointed into the distance. Empress Ling Yao's opponent is him. Jimren Tonggu looked over and saw a calm-looking young man standing at the back of the mountain. He clenched his fists and his eyes flashed with murderous intent. I will fight her in the 10-year duel. Chapter 1495. Empress Ling Yao had joined the promise of 10 years, but Jun Changshao would not fight with her. She was An Yo's enemy, and he had to defeat her personally to take revenge. No, the Taishan elder said. This kid is too weak. He did not have high hopes for the 6th transformation Go Sheng, much less the 2nd transformation Yi Xingchen. Of course, it was not that he was underestimating An Yo, but the gap between them was too big. If he went over, he would definitely be beaten to a pulp. Master, Jun Changshao said, have you heard of a saying? What saying? 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west. Do not bully the young for being poor. Jimren Tonggu rolled his eyes. Don't give me these useless words of encouragement. Jun Changshao said, there are still 6 to 7 years until the promise. I believe that An Yo can defeat Empress Ling Yao, because... He looked at Yi Xingchen again and said proudly, he is a disciple of the sect of all times. His words were loud and clear, echoing throughout the sect for a long time. Crack. Yi Xingchen clenched his fists again. The blood in his body seemed to boil under the encouragement of the sect of all times. Jimren Tonggu was speechless. If she doesn't improve, won't she grow? He was most worried that Empress Ling Yao would enter the truth-seeking realm. By then, there would be no suspense. Master, Jun Changshao said seriously, she can improve, she can grow, but she won't be as fast as my disciple. Go Sheng did not know if he could make An Yo stronger, or even surpass Empress Ling Yao. But that did not stop him from setting a goal for himself. People must have goals, must have dreams. Yi Xingchen, tell me loudly, can you defeat her? Patriarch. Yi Xingchen stood at the back of the mountain, his blood boiling. He looked up and roared. Not only will I defeat her, I will kill her myself. Jimren Tonggu's expression was interesting. Did my disciple's head get kicked by a donkey? With only rank 2 cultivation, he dares to say that he can kill a rank 9 reincarnation Dan cultivator? AI. He sighed and said, I've told you everything. Prepare well. Don't let me down during the promise of 10 years. Swish. With that, he flew out of the sect of all times. After he left, Li Qingyang and the others appeared one after another. They stopped in front of Yi Xingchen and gave him encouraging looks. Junior brother Yi. Su Xiaoma punched him in the chest and said, Shi Xiang believes you can do it. Yi Xingchen's expression remained cold, but his heart warmed. Right now, he was no longer fighting alone. A large number of disciples gathered at the back of the mountain. They stood near Yi Xingchen. The camera moved past them and finally stopped at the plaque with the words unyielding steel on it. Li Tiantian naturally would not miss this opportunity. He quickly found a good angle and pressed the shutter button, creating a picture that symbolized unity. On the mountain peak, Yi Xingchen sat alone on a huge rock, looking at the sea of clouds in the distance. Even though he had declared that he was going to defeat Empress Ling Yao, he knew better than anyone else in his heart that if he were to fight against that woman, he had no chance of winning at all. I'm still too weak. Yi Xingchen's eyes were filled with dejection. In the past, he would never have such a mentality when facing a strong enemy, because Night Emperor's pride did not allow him to lower his head. But now it was different, because fighting with Empress Ling Yao would not only represent himself, but also the sect. The pressure was immense. Jun Changshao's attitude towards Rose of Flowers had changed. Yi Xingchen's attitude towards the sect of all times was even more obvious. They had truly become one, although it was difficult to change their prideful personalities. Ta! Suddenly, a sound came from behind. Turning around, there was a jar of drunken dreams beside him. Junior brother Yi. Xiao Ziji sat on a tree in the distance, one leg dangling casually. He held a jar of wine in his hand and smiled. How about we have a showdown? Yi Xingqian's eyes were filled with disdain. He did not dare to say that he was the strongest disciple in the sect of all times in martial arts. But he was not afraid of anyone in the way of wine. Come. Anyo skillfully opened the jar and took a sip of drunken dreams. It was very irritating. It was a good way to relieve his worries with wine. Xiao Ziji lifted his jar of drunken dreams as well. One sat on a huge rock, the other on a tree, drinking to their heart's content. The atmosphere was instantly set off. Junior brother. Xiao Ziji wiped the wine stain from the corner of his mouth and recalled the past. Back then in the lower realm, I had no cultivation and was a complete piece of trash. But the patriarch still set a 3-year promise for me. Do you know why? Hearing this, Yi Xingqian understood why he wanted to drink with him. So he replied, because of the goal, the motivation? No. Xiao Ziji took another sip of wine and said, because the patriarch has the confidence to make me stronger. Yi Xingqian's expression became interesting. This answer was completely different from what he had expected. Facts have proven it, Xiao Ziji said. The patriarch has the ability to make a piece of trash like me stand up again in 3 years and regain the dignity that I once lost. What are you trying to say? Believe in the patriarch and believe in yourself. Yi Xingqian fell silent. Then he lifted the wine jar and drank. Xiao Ziji did not continue. Simple words were enough to express the meaning. There was no need to repeat it, because it would seem more deliberate. The lower realm, the 3-year promise. The upper realm, the 10-year promise. They had both been hurt by a woman, and had the same battle promise. These two were really good friends who would walk together for life. Gulp gulp. Yi Xingqian drank the entire jar of drunken dreams. Then, he stood up shakily and threw it out. He spread his arms and shouted, I, Yi Xingqian, will definitely defeat that woman. Bang! The empty jar drew a beautiful arc and fell directly from the mountain peak. It accurately hit the Purple King's head. That bastard threw it from high up. Don't you know it's dangerous? After drinking, Yi Xingqian's confusion was gone. He focused more on cultivation and believed that the patriarch must have a way to make him stronger. In fact, Jun Changxiao was very conflicted. Although he had set a small goal for Anyo, how could he make him stronger quickly? Sigh. The system was speechless. Don't make your disciple raise flags again. Don't talk nonsense. Jun Changxiao rolled his eyes. Hurry up and think of a way to make Anyo stronger quickly. Use all the martial arts resources of the sect on him alone. The system said. Can he surpass Empress Ling Yao? No. Then what the hell are you talking about? The system said. With the power of the entire sect, he should be able to make a qualitative leap in a few years. But Empress Ling Yao also cultivates. So at this time, he will need the help of the system store. As expected, Jun Changxiao was speechless. We still have to rely on it. The system said. The gap between Yi Xingqian and Empress Ling Yao is too big. If he wants to catch up, or even surpass her in 6 or 7 years, there is only one way. Or he can jump off a cliff. Who knows, he might accidentally get the inheritance of a powerful person, and be able to reach max level immediately after he comes out. Jun Changxiao facepalmed. Then let's do it. At least it's more realistic. Chapter 1496. Since he had decided to let Yi Xingqian fight Empress Ling Yao in the promise of 10 years, it was important to find a way to make him stronger in the next 6 or 7 years. There was no other way but to cheat. Actually, the system said, you can make yourself stronger and help your disciple take revenge. Jun Changxiao shook his head. What happened in the lower realm has hurt Anyo too much. Only by breaking his inner demons can he improve. All I can do is help him as much as I can. There was no joke. Go Sheng might not be a good person, or a good husband, but from the perspective of the sect, he was a good patriarch. Even the biggest dog Go Hei agreed. So the hosts must be prepared to spend a lot of resources to help a disciple, the system said. Jun Changxiao said, if I can help him break free from his inner demons, any price is worth it. For now, the sect of all times martial arts resources were evenly distributed. Even if the core disciples received more, they still cared about balanced development. If they wanted Yi Xingchen to break through quickly, they could only use the power of the entire sect to help him. This was a common practice among the major sections. For example, they would invest all their martial arts resources on a talented junior to help them grow in the shortest time possible. With Yi Xingchen's talent and potential, he deserved such treatment. But the problem was Lu Qianqian, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, Su Xiaoma, and other disciples could all be promoted. So the sect of all times had always treated all core disciples equally. They did not really train any one of them, because there were too many geniuses to choose from. Any one of them would have the life of a main character. It would be impossible to promote all of them. On the other hand, if other sects encountered a top genius, they would definitely use all their resources on him, betting on the future of the sect. The next day, Jun Changshao took out a few spatial rings and said, "There are 10 million true stones in here. Take them and cultivate. If you don't have enough, come find me." Yi Xingchen was a little confused. 10 million might not be a lot for a sect, but for a person, it was definitely a huge amount of martial arts resources. Patriarch, isn't that a little too much? Although Big Brother Anyo was arrogant in the past, he had always been active in all kinds of competitions and fights in order to obtain more resources to improve himself. Now that the Patriarch had given him 10 million true stones for free, he actually felt that it was a bit too much, and his mentality had changed greatly. Should I take some more? Shwa. Yi Xingchen hurriedly took the interspatial ring. Just now he was just trying to decline. In fact, he was feeling quite good. After all, such a large amount of resources would definitely allow him to make a substantial improvement in his cultivation base. Jun Changshao said, "We'll begin immediately. Don't do any sect missions for the time being. Focus all your attention on cultivation." Yes, Yi Xingchen left the hall and entered the space-time secret realm. 6 or 7 years wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. He had to work hard at all times to raise his cultivation level as soon as possible. Only then would he be able to live up to his patriarch and his fellow disciples. Of course, cultivating in seclusion was equivalent to building a car behind closed doors. The path of cultivation required actual combat. Therefore, in the following days, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others took turns to spar with Anyo. The standard of the spar was very high, because the special effects of the words were activated. In terms of overall strength, Yi Xingchen was stronger than many core disciples but not by much. Therefore, the level of excitement in the battle was still very high. Boom! Boom! On the martial arts field supported by various arrays, the heaven-crossing palm print, and other martial arts techniques were frequently used. It could be said that the battle was very beautiful. Thump, thump, thump. After a while, Yi Xingchen took more than 10 steps back and bent over to gasp for breath. "Senior brother." He woody cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for letting me win." Yi Xingchen wiped the sweat from his forehead and said to himself, "This guy is too strong." He challenged Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others one after another. His overall strength was slightly better, but he was defeated by Hiwudi. He even felt that he couldn't see through him anymore. It wasn't just Yi Xingchen. Jun Changshao also realized it. This last disciple usually kept a low profile in the sect. He didn't even make a sound. However, every time he fought, there would always be a big change. It was as if he suddenly became stronger. "Senior brother," Hiwudi said, "although the heaven-crossing palm print you used just now was not bad, there were obvious flaws in the process of using it. If you can fix this problem, you should be able to improve quite a lot." "TSK," Yi Xingchen snorted coldly. This guy in charge of closing the door was actually giving him pointers? "I see." In the cultivation room, after carefully listening to the explanation and analysis of the heaven-crossing palm print, Yi Xingchen walked out with a sudden realization. His eyes were shining with a bright luster. He will understand after a little guidance. This senior brother Ye's aptitude is also not bad. Hiwudi walked out and thought to himself. Originally, he planned to continue to be an invisible person in the sect. However, after seeing Yi Xingchen working hard to cultivate for the 10 years night, he decided to help him improve his understanding of martial arts. Invincible. Just as he walked out of the cultivation room, Jun Changshao stood in front of the main hall and waved. He smiled and said, "Come here." Woody felt an ominous feeling in his heart. Sure enough, arriving at the main hall, Jun Changshao sat at the head of the table. His 10 fingers were clasped together, and he said meaningfully, "You are not simple." Go Xing saw clearly that he was guiding Yi Xingchen in the cultivation room. He was even surprised that this guy had such a high understanding of the heaven-crossing palm print. Perhaps even Gu Zhaoxi could not compare to him. In the past, Woody had discussed with the system, but it did not attract much attention. Now it was a good opportunity to ask if this last disciple had any unspeakable stories. Patriarch, everyone has their own secrets. If you don't want to tell me, I will not force you. Woody fell silent. Jun Changshao walked down and patted him on the shoulder. He said, "Actually, when I first met you, I knew that you were not simple. That was why I took you in as my last disciple." Woody wanted to cry at the mention of being his last disciple, because this was really just a way to close the door. "If I am not wrong," Jun Changshao said, "you should be from the upper realm like the black and white Rakshasas, right?" When he was in the lower realm, he used the dazzling light sunglasses to analyze that the other party had a super divine grade spirit root. Now that he was in the upper realm, and his strength was gradually revealed, he was even more determined. "That's right." Woody did not deny it. "Why did you appear in the lower realm?" Jun Changshao asked. "Because." Woody thought for a while and confessed, "The 7 mysterious rays broken scroll." Oh, Jun Changshao was surprised. Woody immediately told him about how he obtained the scroll, and how he was hunted down by various powerhouses and forced to the lower realm, forcing his body and level to be completely reset to 0. However, he hid a very important piece of information, which was that it did not happen in the upper realm, but in another world. "How many scrolls are there?" "1. Jun Changshao looked calm on the surface, but in fact his heart was breaking down. The case was solved. The case was finally solved. The first 7 mysterious rays broken scroll that he bought in the store was snatched from this unlucky guy. Chapter 1497. Based on the past, Jun Changshao could roughly confirm that anyone who bought a remnant scroll must have stolen it from somewhere else, such as the rows of flowers from Volume 2 and the black and white Rakshasa from Volume 3. But what about the first remnant scroll? There should be a victim here, right? Today, when Woody told part of his story, the mystery of many years was finally solved. It turned out that he was the first unlucky person. "Fate," the system said. "This is fate." "Bah." Jun Chang laughed and said, "My max level account was reset to 0 because of you. But the one who benefited was the host." The system said, "I didn't know." In this matter, Jun Changshao could not be said to be at fault. After all, he did not know that there was such a trap in the system store. If he had known, there would be no ifs. "Later I understood," Woody said. "The disappearance of the remnant scroll was actually fate. Because without it, I would not have joined the sect created by Senior Qishuan to pursue higher martial arts mysteries. To be honest, falling from a high-level world to a low-level world, and having his cultivation level reset, if it were anyone else, they would not have been able to bear it. He must have been in pain at first, but only after joining the sect of all times did he have a deeper understanding. Fate. All of this was fate. Woody even often wondered if it was Senior Qishuan's arrangement that he could find the remnant scroll and come to the falling star continent. Some might say that his imagination was too much. In fact, when one's cultivation reached a certain level, one would believe in such things very much. Especially Senior Qishuan, who had a very high position in Woody's heart. He even worshipped him as God. God. Omnipotent. Moreover, because the remnant scroll disappeared, he was forced to come to the lower realm. In the end, he saw a copy in the sect of all times, and even the full set. How could he not imagine? "What realm were you at before you came?" Jun Changshao asked. Woody thought for a while and said, "Truth-seeking realm." When he explained the reason just now, he deliberately hid important information, so he had to hide his realm as well. Otherwise, it would be easy to be exposed. No wonder. Jun Changshao said. You have such a deep understanding of the sect's martial arts. The strongest fighter in the sect of all times was Gu Zhaoxi, who was only at the 8 refinement transformation realm. Cultivators at the truth-seeking realm were undoubtedly at a higher level and stronger. AI. He woody sighed and said, although my understanding of martial arts is very high, I still need to improve my realm step by step. Her meaning was very clear. She was telling Jun Changshao that she was now a phoenix in dire straits. She was even worse than a chicken. Don't count on her to support the sect. Woody was really too low-key. If one had to use a word to describe him, it would be Kingo. The reason for this kind of personality was that the world he lived in was not weak, but it was definitely not top-notch. He could only struggle his way up. He did not have the experience of controlling lightning like the Night Emperor did in his previous life. To put it bluntly, Woody was just a small figure in a high-level world. He kept a low profile and gradually grew up. His personality was destined not to be too ostentatious. He even had to endure at all times. He and Yi Xingqian were two extremes. They represented Go and Fu respectively. So, Jun Changshao patted his shoulder again and said, guide Anil more during this period of time so that he can become stronger faster. Woody was dumbfounded. Of course. Jun Changshao added. If you have time, you can also teach Wu Tang and replace Elder Ge and the others to explain martial arts problems to your fellow disciples. I understand that your level is reset to 0, but after all, he used to be at the truth-seeking realm. His martial arts knowledge must be rich. It was the best choice to bring benefits to his fellow disciples. Patriarch it's decided. When Woody revealed his former identity and realm, he was immediately given a good job to be in charge of guiding Yi Xingqian and the other sections. Of course, the premise was that he had to do it after closing the door. It's too difficult for me. Contribution points. Sitting on the chair in the study, Jun Changshao rubbed his temples, giving Yi Xingqian a lot of resources and letting Woody, who had rich martial arts experience, teach him could only be a conventional way of improvement. If conditions permitted, he would definitely cheat. However, the contribution points were not enough. Jun Changshao did not believe that after the free refresh CD, he could get the items he wanted as he wished. Moreover, even if he could not afford it with only 200,000 points. Do the task. Let the disciple do the task faster. Fortunately, the appearance of the new sect task gave Jun Changshao a stable channel to obtain the 3 contribution points, instead of relying on the system to trigger the side task. By the way, there is an epic task. I hope that there will be a lot of rewards after the settlement, such as the elixir formula to upgrade to the truth-seeking realm. Say something. No problem at all. The host will get what he wants. The system finally spoke. In view of its previous ability to reverse the milk, this time it directly said something good. Come on. Wait for the slap in the face. The news of a large real stone vein being unearthed in the green grassland gradually spread in the upper realm, and instantly became the hottest topic. Of course, everyone was more concerned about who had dug the vein away. Who else could it be? It must be Empress Lingyao. I heard that all the sects gathered at the entrance of the immortal land to interrogate her. If immortal Qingwei did not appear, I'm afraid they would have fought. This woman does not have much power in the realm hall, but she dares to compete with so many sects for the vein. She has guts. From the discussion, it was not difficult to see that Jun Changshao's trick was very successful. All the martial artists believed that Empress Lingyao had dug the large vein away. If a lie was told too often, it would become true. If a rumor spread too often, it would gradually become the truth. Master. In the magnificent palace, a stooped old man frowned. The upper realm is talking about you, Empress Lingyao said. Only fools will listen to rumors. The realm hall knows that you are immortal Qingwei's disciple, and wants you to go to the headquarters as soon as possible. The stooped old man said. Empress Lingyao was irritated. She had been maliciously framed this time. Other than arousing suspicion, she had not suffered any substantial losses. She was only a little hurt that her master was immortal Qingwei. After all, The latter had a grudge with the realm hall and was classified as a traitor. I thought I could hide it for a little longer, but since they know, it doesn't matter. Empress Lingyao asked, "How's the investigation?" "Master," the stooped old man said, "no suspicious person has entered the northwest in the past few months, and no one has entered the Green Plains." She had been tricked, so of course she had to investigate. However, Jun Changxiao had done well in this regard. He had either traveled at full speed on the ancient warship or set up an isolation array, so he had not been discovered by passers-by. It made sense. Knowing that the vein had appeared from the mission in advance, he had to be careful when he came. Otherwise, if others found out, he would attract suspicion and trouble. Empress Lingyao said, "The person who set me up is not simple. Could it be that the Buried Moon Pavilion has found out that I killed their spy in the Realm Hall?" "It's possible," the stooped old man agreed. Chapter 1498. Whoosh! Yi Xingqian walked out of the space-time secret realm, his aura stronger than before. That's right. He had broken through to rank 3. It took him 4 months. From a normal cultivation point of view, it was not slow at all, but super fast. However, it took tens of millions of true stones just to raise 1 level. This was not a price an ordinary martial artist could afford. If he relied on resources, it would not be a problem. After all, Jun Changxiao still had a lot of resources. He could use them all to help Yi Xingqian. However, as one's realm got higher, they could not rely on resources to break through. They also needed to comprehend it. For example, Yi Xingqian had already reached the peak of Qi-changing stage. 1 more step, and he would reach spirit-changing stage. He could not rely on resources to break through. He had to rely on his own comprehension. To put it bluntly, there were 3 stages in rank 9. One could eat resources to break through, but when one reached a certain threshold, they could only rely on their own abilities. The most typical example was the Taishian Elder. His realm was the same as Yi Xingqian's rank 3, but he was still far away from rank 4. Why? Because this was a threshold that needed to be seriously comprehended. The Taishian Elder's heart was not on martial arts, but on divination. In the past, he could break through to rank 3 while cultivating, but he had to be extremely focused as he advanced. If he broke through carelessly, then he would have to continue wasting time. 369. Core Changing Stage Bottleneck. Of course, this bottleneck did not apply to Jun Changxiao, because he only needed to complete the epic mission to break through to a higher level. There was no need for him to calm down and comprehend. "I hope I won't be stuck for too long," Yi Xingqian prayed in his heart. But after cultivating for another half a month, he found that he had no gains at all. If there was a problem, he would find the patriarch. Jun Changxiao scratched his head and said, "Ask the Black and White Guardians." This guy had leveled up by doing missions, so he had no understanding of the cultivation process. He could not pass on the relevant martial arts experience. Yi Xingqian found the Black and White Rakshas. The Qi conversion stage is the transition from the spirit conversion stage to the spirit conversion stage. Its purpose is to pry into the profound power of the true spirit hidden within the heaven and earth attribute. Only by transforming the energy core within the body can it be sublimated. The Black Rakshasa explained to him. "How long did the 2 of you take?" Yi Xingqian asked. 500 years. More than 400 years. Bullshit. The White Rakshasa roared. "You're 1 year faster than me. 499 years is also more than 400 years. Am I wrong?" The Black Rakshasa said calmly. The 2 brothers quarreled again. Yi Xingqian left with a look of despair on his face. The 2 guardians in the upper realm were also considered as martial artists with talent. It took them hundreds of years to advance from 3rd transformation to 4th transformation. How could he do it in just 6 or 7 years? "Anyo," Jun Changxiao encouraged him. "As long as your thinking doesn't decline, there will always be more solutions than difficulties." Yi Xingqian took a deep breath and said, "Patriarch, whether or not I can break through quickly will depend on you. Hurry up and give me some elixirs." "Don't be anxious," Jun Changxiao said. "I should have it soon." There were only a few days left until the 4th epic mission settlement day. He placed his hopes on the reward. He would not be so extravagant as to give a formula for breaking through to the truth transformation realm. Even a formula for the spirit transformation realm would be fine. What if you don't give it? The system asked. Jun Changshao said. Then I can only go to the merchant shop. In the past 5 months, the disciples had done missions one after another, and their 3 points had all increased evenly. Now that they had accumulated quite a lot, if they really had no other choice, they would spend money like crazy. For example, they could buy VIP tickets for the year. A few days later. Ding! Epic mission settlement. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining the large true stone vein in the Jade Tripod Mountains. You have met the requirements. Epic mission completed. Completion rate, 100%. Host has received 1 million contribution points. Ding! Sect contribution points, 344,000. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the Upper Realm Epic Mission number 4. You have received Seal Opening Talisman for X1. Must do what you say X1. That's it. Hearing the reward, Jun Changshao's expression collapsed. Could it be that because the completion rate was only 100%, he only received a 4th-generation Seal Opening Talisman, and must do what you say? Jun Changshao said happily. That's good stuff. Back then, he had also received one when he completed a mission. Its function was to raise one's cultivation level by a large realm for no reason. Now that he had completed the Upper Realm Epic Mission, he had received another one. Perhaps it could help Yi Xingchen break through to the truth-seeking realm in an instant. Haha, Jun Changshao covered his face and laughed. This is better than the pill recipe. The pill recipe still required him to find the herbs. The must do what you say. He could directly take it out and call out its name. It could not be more convenient. The system was speechless. Am I not a toxic healer? It was hoping that the host would get what he wanted. But in the end, he got what he wanted. And it was even better than what he had imagined. Sigh. I'm having a harder time than he would. Ding. The host has successfully broken through to the 7th transformation core realm. Huff huff. Just as Jun Changshao was about to go wild with joy, he suddenly froze on the spot. His thoughts and soul seemed to have merged into some kind of illusion. The 7th transformation was classified as the reincarnation stage. Therefore he, who had once again relied on missions to level up, instantly entered a brand new martial Dao world, and then crazily absorbed the profound meaning that existed inside. Buzz! A moment later, Jun Changshao returned to reality, holding his head in pain. Because he had relied on cheating to level up, he did not experience the process of comprehending the reincarnation stage. Therefore, now that he had suddenly entered it, he naturally had to experience the pain of his soul becoming stronger. In short, he forcefully poured all kinds of knowledge and energy into his sea of consciousness and body. Phew! The pain lasted for an hour. When he gradually adapted to the higher realm, Jun Changshao directly leaned on the chair, as if he had collapsed. Then he broke down and said, "Only 1 level. It's normal." The system said indifferently, if he skipped a level every time, would the upper realm survive? The completion rate of Epic Mission 4 was only 100%. Therefore, whether it was the contribution points, rewards, or even the improvement of the realm, they were all very limited. This made Jun Changshao very dissatisfied. Forget it. Let Anyo break through to the truth-seeking realm first. He hurriedly contacted Yi Xingchen and asked him to come to the main hall as soon as possible. Jun Changshao's first thought was to let his disciple level up. It was enough to show that he was a very qualified patriarch, a selfless person. He could not make it up anymore. The reason was that the item could not be used by the person himself. Patriarch. Yi Xingchen came to the main hall and said, "What's the matter?" Jun Changshao interlocked his fingers and said with a smile, "If you were given a chance to choose, what level would you want to be promoted to?" "The strongest in the upper realm." Jun Changshao almost fell off his chair. This wish was a little too big. With the promise mechanism, it was definitely impossible. Lower it. The peak of the truth-seeking realm. Lower it a little more. then break through the core transformation stage and enter the truth-seeking realm. Snap! Jun Changshao snapped his fingers and said, "As you wish." "As I wish." Just as Yi Xingchen was dumbfounded, he saw the patriarch take out a large conch and shout it, "Improve Yi Xingchen. Reason. My disciple. Meets the requirements." The promise mechanism instantly disintegrated and turned into powder that stuck to Yi Xingchen's body, causing his realm to instantly improve. He then exclaimed, "I've broken through to the fourth transformation." Of course, a smile appeared on Jun Changshao's face. However, the next second, his expression froze and he widened his eyes. Not the truth-seeking realm. Chapter 1499. Yi Xingchen was especially excited now, because he had suddenly entered the fourth transformation from the third transformation. The attributes in his energy core had turned into pure true spirit energy. Xiao Ziji was right. Whether he could become stronger or not, he must believe in the patriarch. Yi Xingchen was excited, but Jun Changshao, who was sitting on the chair, felt heartache. Didn't they say that he would advance by a whole realm? Why did the epic mission from the previous version only allow him to advance from the third transformation to the fourth transformation? It's very simple. The system said, either the first transformation is a whole realm, or the spirit-changing stage is a whole realm. Based on the host's previous breakthrough, the latter is more likely. Jun Changshao clutched his chest and said, "I was thinking too much. Although the items in the system are magical, they won't be too heaven-defying. After all, we still have to pay attention to the ecological balance. If it had not been used, the system would not have said it so confidently." "Anyo." Jun Changshao calmed down and said, "Work harder on your cultivation, don't let me down." "Patriarch," Yi Xingchen said weakly, "didn't you say that I could enter the true spirit realm?" "Scram." Jun Changshao pointed at the door and said, "Quickly." Yi Xingchen retreated, but after walking out of the main hall, his eyes shone. Previously, he had been conflicted about breaking through the fourth transformation, but now that he had achieved it, he was full of hope for the future. As long as he was in the spirit-changing stage and had enough martial arts resources, breaking through quickly would not be a problem. As for whether he could enter the soul-changing stage after reaching the sixth transformation, that depended on the patriarch. After breaking through, Yi Xingchen had more motivation, so he came up with a new cultivation plan. Although Jun Changshao was depressed that his words did not meet his expectations, but after thinking about it, it was worth it to let his disciple cross a hurdle easily. At least, the time saved was immeasurable. "Who?" He took a deep breath and said, "Use the store." Go Sheng was a little worried that if he didn't use up the few million contribution points he had saved up in the past 6 months, they might be reset to 0 one day. Besides, Yi Xingchen had only leveled up by 1 level. There was still a gap between him and Empress Lingyao. It would be even better if he could find something that could help him level up. Bathing and burning incense. After everything was ready, Jun Changshao opened the shop. Ding! Ding! After 5 times there was nothing. Jun Changshao was used to it, and his emotions did not fluctuate at all. Ding! The host has already reached the limit of 5 free refresh times per month. Would you like to activate the monthly or annual VIP package to unlock more refresh times? As the voice faded, 2 options appeared in front of him. One was a monthly VIP, and the other was a yearly VIP. Jun Changshao clicked on the second option without any hesitation. Ding! You have successfully recharged your account. Congratulations to the host for becoming a VIP user. The monthly refresh rate has increased from 5 times to 30 times. You have also received additional rewards, such as the nouveau riche interface and the sweet voice of a young lady. Ding! Sect contribution points, 294,000. Whoosh! In an instant, the shop turned into a golden and dazzling state. It was simply inhumane. After coming to the upper realm, the system interface had been upgraded once, and now it had become a nouveau riche interface. This was what it meant to be a successful person. This was the symbol of nobility. Jun Changshao said lightly, "I feel it." The huge change in the system interface was a feast for his eyes. He finally realized that the lives of the rich could be so simple and unadorned. Ding! Honorable VIP host, would you like to activate the sweet voice of a young lady? Of course, Jun Changshao said. I've tolerated that crazy retort for a long time. The system. Ding! Activate the sweet voice of a young lady. When the voice spoke, it had changed from a man's voice to a woman's, and it was very pleasant to the ears. The visual and auditory changes fully proved what it meant to be a noble VIP. However, Jun Changshao was on the verge of collapse. Only this? What else? The system said. Hearing its voice as usual, Jun Changshao finally understood that the so-called young lady's voice was a replacement for the previous voice, and the system assistance was not changed. As everyone knew, the system's voice and the system assistance were absolutely independent. One was mechanical, the other was human. If the emotionless voice was changed and the complaining voice was left, what was the use of this function? Change it back, Jun Changshao said irritably. Ding! Young brother's magnetic voice activated. Young brother's magnetic voice. Jun Changshao did not care about the nouveau riche interface and the sweet voice, because he cared more about the 25 free refreshes. Come on. Refresh to your heart's content. Ta! Jun Changshao lifted his leg and proudly placed it on the table. As a genuine VIP, he should be very arrogant. Otherwise, wouldn't the money be wasted? Ding! Refresh replacement of goods. Fuck. Jun Changshao almost jumped out of his seat. 5 free refreshes per month, he would habitually refresh. Although there were occasionally good goods, they were not very useful. This time, it was different. The item bar was covered in gold and purple, so shiny that he could barely open his eyes. It was as if he had entered the exchange code. See, you're the most handsome in Jianghu. And all kinds of godly equipment and mounts could be obtained at will. Supreme Magic Battle Armor. Dragon-slaying God-slaying Set. Rank 9 Poisonous Stinger. Just looking at these names made him feel like he was going to be God. What made Jun Changshao's breathing quicken was that there were many prestige goods. Judging from the ratio, at least 1 in 10 items would be a prestige item. This probability was much higher than the free refreshes. Does it feel good? The system asked. Yes. Jun Changshao truly understood what it meant to spend money on learning. However, when he clicked on Supreme Magic Battle Armor and saw that the price was 5 million contribution points, he roared in his heart. So expensive! Didn't you see the grade? It's already Dao grade. In the upper realm, the grade of equipment and treasures corresponded to the sects and forces: Mystic, True, Dao, and Immortal. The Xian grade was suitable for Void-Piercing Realm and Core Transformation Realm. The Truth grade was suitable for Core Transformation Realm, and the Dao grade was suitable for Truth-Seeking Realm. Jun Changshao was speechless. I can't afford it. Next, he continued to look at other shiny equipment. In the end, all the items with domineering names and special effects, even the Truth grade, started at 2 million. Goshen cried. It was not easy to get so many items, but the price was more expensive than the previous. He could only look at them and not buy them. There are prestige goods too. I should be able to buy one. Jun Changshao clicked on the nearest prestige goods with hope. When he saw that the price was 2,000 points, he immediately collapsed on the chair. If it was expensive, it was not a big problem. After all, he could slowly accumulate points in the future. However, the problem was that he urgently needed items to increase the strength of his disciples. He definitely could not keep them. Refresh. The system said. There are still 24 chances. Maybe you can refresh something useful. This was what Jun Changshao was most conflicted about. If he refreshed them, the good stuff would definitely be overshadowed. You can't afford it now, yet you still want items to help your disciples. If you don't refresh them, are you planning to keep them for the new year? The system instigated. Fine. Jun Changshao gritted his teeth and said, refresh. Chapter 1500. Ding, ding, ding. Refresh after refresh, replace after replace. It was undeniable that after becoming a VIP for a year, there were many good items, but they were either too expensive or not suitable for rapid growth, so he could only replace them by force. Why can't you add a shopping cart function, allowing me to add what I want in advance and buy it when I have money in the future? Jun Changxiao was speechless. In your dreams, the system said. Jun Changxiao ignored it and continued to refresh. After refreshing more than 10 times, he saw a product called or incubator. He covered his face and said, "Finally, something useful." The ore incubator was not expensive, only 1 million. The introduction said that it could incubate special ores and increase their growth. Increase? Jun Changxiao's eyes were burning. Wasn't the mother of real stones a special ore? If it was added to increase its growth, wouldn't it be able to produce more eggs? Buy. After thinking for a while, Jun Changxiao spent 1 million contribution points to buy the ore incubator. Previously, he could have bought a lot of 2 to 3 million contribution points equipment, but he did not because it would only benefit him. If this facility could increase the growth of the mother of real stones, it would definitely benefit the entire sect. Jun Changxiao went to the underground palace and took out the ore incubator. The shape of this item was similar to the previous incubator. It had a transparent barrier, and below it were various buttons and LED screens, as well as a dent that seemed to be used to absorb energy. No way! Jun Changxiao was speechless. Does this thing need external energy? Nonsense. The system said. If you want to increase its growth, you have to invest it. Jun Changxiao took out the manual, and after reading it carefully, he confirmed that the ore incubator really needed energy to increase its growth. Fortunately, he could choose crystal cores as the material. Let's give it a try. Jun Changxiao placed the mother of real stones inside the ore incubator, then began to take out crystal cores to charge. He only pressed the start button after using thousands of crystal cores. Beep, beep, beep. Numbers appeared on the LED screen. Item: Mother of Truth Condition. Met energy. 1% acceleration. 100%. Jun Changxiao hugged his head and roared. Thousands of high-level crystal nuclei are thrown in, and the energy is only 1%, and the acceleration is only 100%. The crystal cores that Go Sheng had put in just now were mostly obtained from various forbidden grounds. Their quality was pretty good, and they would definitely be able to exchange for a considerable amount of magnetite if they were to sell them on the market. Hoo-hoo. At this moment, the mother of truth inside the device emitted a strong heaven and earth attribute, and then merged into the surrounding soil through the vent holes. Accelerating it by 100% meant that the incubation effect was doubled. If this was an ordinary medicinal ingredient, the effect would be pretty good. However, if it was used to cultivate the mother of true stones and allow it to produce true stones faster, it didn't seem to be enough. DD. The alarm sounded, and a number appeared on the screen. 1% energy can only last for 1 year. Please replenish it in time. Jun Changxiao was speechless. I threw in so many high-level crystal cores, and it only accelerated my time by 1 year? Not bad. The system said. At least it can speed up the nurturing of the mother of true rocks. It's better than the slow gathering speed. That's true. Jun Changxiao took out more crystal cores to recharge. Although a 100% acceleration wasn't much, the mother of truth would determine the future development of the sect, so it was better to speed it up. Who? Jun Changxiao threw in all the crystal cores in his spatial ring, and after a fierce operation, the energy increase was only 5%. Damn it! That's way too expensive. At this moment, Go Sheng's eyes widened. The acceleration listed on the LED screen changed from the initial 100% to 500%. Understood. The system said. Every time the energy increases, the acceleration will also increase. From 1% to 100%. If it reaches 100%, it will increase by 10,000%. It should be. That's great. Jun Changxiao was instantly excited. If it reached the maximum value, wouldn't it be 100 times faster? The mother of truth could easily nurture true stones for thousands of years. If the acceleration was maintained, it could be completed in a few decades. Calm down. Jun Changxiao suppressed his excitement and said, the prerequisite is to have crystal cores. With so many crystal cores as the energy source, it only increased by 5%. If it really reached 100% and obtained 10,000% acceleration, would there be enough upper realm monsters? The principle of the ore incubator was similar to that of the incubator. If he wanted to obtain more acceleration, he had to invest crazily. Jun Changxiao was still quite satisfied. At least he could obtain crystal cores. If he could nurture more true stones, it could also be an alternative exchange method. Swoosh. He opened the shop again. Jun Changxiao found another product at the end of the list. It was called Gene Modification Fluid, so he curiously clicked on the introduction. Item: Gene Modification Fluid Introduction. An epic-making product from highly developed martial arts and technology. Effect: after consumption, it can forcefully change the user's genes, thus obtaining the special ability of non-human races. Disadvantage: random selection. Price: 2,000 reputation points. Note: purchase limited to 1 per year. Damn, Jun Changxiao said in surprise. This is quite strong. The system said, according to the terms of the world of martial arts, it should be similar to bloodline inheritance. It is recommended that the host purchase 10 stars. Jun Changxiao fell into a short period of silence. This thing was indeed not bad, but he only had 2,000 reputation points at the moment. The system said, you can give it to Yi Xingchen to let him obtain the ability of a certain race. Perhaps it can greatly increase his realm. Makes sense. Jun Changxiao's eyes lit up. There was only one chance. If he did not buy it, he would have to refresh it. Moreover, the system said again, this thing can be bought once a year. In the future, when you have reputation points, you can also give it to the upper echelons of the sect or the disciples to use, allowing everyone to have a special bloodline. A real marketing master would use the simplest words to accurately capture the user's psychology and make them palpitate with eagerness. Jun Changxiao was tempted. To be honest, this thing might not be effective for him, because he had the bloodline of the stone statue race. It was unknown if he could be compatible with 2 bloodlines, but many people in the sect did not. If he could use this to benefit them, the 2,000 reputation points would not be wasted. Ding! Host has spent 2,000 reputation points and obtained Gene Modification Fluid X1. It has been transported into the space ring. Ding! Sect reputation points 0. Jun Changxiao bought it and immediately informed Yi Xingchen. Patriarch. Anya walked in from outside and secretly muttered in his heart. Could it be that the Patriarch has something good for him again? Jun Changxiao placed the gene modification fluid on the table and said, drink it. Yi Xingchen was overjoyed. From the shape, this seemed to be the aptitude modification fluid. He had already reached the divine grade spirit root. Could it be that after drinking it, he would have a higher breakthrough? Yi Xingchen hurriedly opened the cork and drank it without any hesitation. The taste of the gene modification fluid was similar to the aptitude modification fluid, but there was a faint fragrance in the mellow malt taste. After drinking it, one would not be satisfied. No, his aptitude did not increase. Hoo-hoo. Just as Anyo was thinking, a majestic aura emerged from his body and instantly filled his entire body. It even seeped into his blood, as if it was burning directly. A heart-wrenching pain instantly spread. That kind of heat gathered in every inch of his skin, making him scream like a pig being slaughtered with a hideous expression. What's going on? This voice. It's junior brother Yi. Let's go. Swish. Swish. Everyone flew to the Dragon Head Peak. As soon as they landed outside the courtyard where the Patriarch lived, they all opened their eyes wide and blurted out, "Oh my God!" Chapter 1501. When Yi Xingchen consumed the genetic fluid, the blood in his body burned instantly, bringing him extreme pain. His face turned completely hideous. "Anyo!" Jun Changxiao exclaimed. The system said, "No need to worry. He should be fusing with the bloodline." It was the same when the host awakened the stone statue race. Jun Changxiao was silent. Yi Xingchen screamed again. At this moment, no one could help him. He could only rely on himself to get through this. If he succeeded, he would obtain a special bloodline. If he failed, he would probably lose his name. Did he regret it? No. Yi Xingchen did not regret it. Even if he knew in advance that consuming the genetic fluid would cause him to experience such pain and torture, he would still drink it without hesitation. This was because the strong were never afraid of death. Anyo, Jun Changshao encouraged him in his heart. Hang in there. Ah! Ah! Screams sounded frequently, making one's hair stand on end. At the same time, the blood in his body transformed rapidly, deeply stimulating the depths of his soul. His eyes gradually turned red, and strange patterns appeared on his exposed skin. The system said, "It's about to fuse. Come on, come on." Jun Changshao clenched his fists and cheered for the system. From his expression, it seemed that he was more nervous than awakening his bloodline. Yi Xingchen could no longer hear anything. The pain and torture had caused him to lose his sense of hearing. As he gradually endured it, his mind and soul were about to collapse. Wang! The scene in front of him suddenly changed, and the pain gradually subsided. Yi Xingchen stood in a seemingly ordinary village with a stunned expression. He said in surprise, "Illusion? Come and chase me." Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. Yi Xingchen looked back and saw an ordinary teenager running over on the muddy road after the rain. He was holding a broken kite in his hand. Whoosh! The kite passed through his body, and his figure became illusory. As expected, this was an illusion. Yi Xingchen could see the teenager as a bystander, but the teenager could not detect his existence. Peanyo. At this moment, a delicate girl ran over on the muddy road, stomping her feet and shouting, "Stop! Peanyo!" Jun Changshao was shocked and hurriedly looked back. Soon, he realized that the young man's silhouette and appearance were very similar to the guy he had taken over. Realization dawned on him. Could this be his youth? Wait a minute. The girl also looked very familiar. Yi Xingchen suddenly thought of something and frowned. Wuxia, come and chase me. If you catch me, I'll return the kite to you. The young man shouted as he ran with a playful smile on his face. Plop! The girl fell to the ground, splashing mud all over her face. Ha ha ha. The young man laughed and said, "You've become a big tabby cat." You. The young girl wiped away the mud on her face, and bean-sized tears slid down her cheeks. Why are you crying? The young man walked over and helped her up. He placed the kite on top of her head and said, "Here you go." No. The girl threw the kite into the mud and left in anger and grievance. Wuxia, the young man shouted. I was just joking, don't be angry. As expected, that girl was Wuxia. Yi Xingchen frowned and said, "This should be the experience of their youth, but why can I see it?" Phew! An intense pain surged into his mind, causing him to subconsciously hug his head. Swish! Suddenly the scene changed again. He was already in a dark forest. The young man, Anyo, was holding a big wooden stick and was confronting a wild wolf. The young girl, Wuxia, was hiding behind him in fear. Anyo, I'm scared. Don't be afraid, I'll protect you. In the end, he was scratched by the wild wolf. Fortunately, the village hunters arrived in time to save the two of them. In order to not be scolded for using memories to make up the number of words. In short, these two scenes represented that the young man, Anyo, and the young girl, Wuxia, had gradually developed feelings for each other. However, Yi Xingchen was very puzzled. Why could he see what these two had experienced? Could it be that the guy who was taken over, when his soul was destroyed, part of his memory was integrated into his soul? Swish! Swish! The scene continued to change, and it was all related to the young man, Anyo, and the young girl, Wuxia. Buzz! After a while, the scene changed to Peanyo's coming-of-age ceremony. He stood in front of Wuxia, who was shorter than him by a head, and grinned. When you become an adult, I'll marry you. Brother Anyo. Wuxia's little face blushed. Of course. Peanyo pointed to the green ox tied to a tree in the distance and said, I will use it to marry you home, and make you happy for the rest of your life. The sons of rich families often rode tall horses, or palanquins to marry their wives, while the ordinary families mostly used donkeys or oxen. Poochie. Wuxia covered her mouth and laughed, saying, Brother Anyo, are you unable to leave the ox? Peonyo walked over, grabbed her little hand, and said seriously, I'm willing to be your ox for the rest of my life. Bull, 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 bull. Yi Xingqian's ears kept repeating, and the pain that had subsided erupted again, causing him to hug his head again. In the outside world, people were kneeling on the ground, and the patterns on their skin were getting brighter and brighter. Ah! Roar! A deafening roar suddenly sounded. Swish! Swish! At this moment, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others had already arrived at Dragon Head Peak. When they saw everything in the courtyard, they all widened their eyes, because what appeared in their field of vision was actually a green ox. Nanny! Jun Changshao also opened his mouth. As an eyewitness, he saw with his own eyes 2 ox horns grow out of Yi Xingqian's forehead, and then he quickly transformed from a human into an ox. Genetic modification successful, the system said. Jun Changshao spread his legs, pointed at the green ox, and roared with a collapsing expression. Transforming from a human into an ox? What kind of genetic modification is this? Does the host think this is an ordinary ox? The system said indifferently. What? Jun Changshao continued to roar. Don't tell me it's the green ox that I rode out of Hanga Pass. If it's really my mount, then this disciple of yours is really awesome. After all, in terms of combat power, he might not be inferior to a great sage, the system said. At this moment, the green ox suddenly enlarged, and the courtyard was destroyed. Jun Changshao ran out in time, but Li Qingyang clutched his chest with a pained expression. This loss is even greater than the training ground. Roar! The green ox, which was about 100 feet long, roared loudly, and the energy it contained shook the space. So strong? Jun Changshao's eyes widened. Gu Zhaoxi had also rushed over, and he said in surprise, What kind of ox is this? Ox. That's right. Gu Zhaoxi instantly judged from the aura and power it exuded, and it was definitely not an ordinary ox. It should be from a certain tribe that was awakening at this moment, so it revealed its true form. Brother Anyo. In the peak where the disciples lived, Huier saw a huge ox suddenly appear on Dragon Head Peak, and tears flowed down her face uncontrollably. Why was she crying? Because this green ox was exactly the same as the ox that Pei Anyo had mentioned back then. I waited for you to marry me, but we were already separated by heaven and earth. Roar! The huge green ox standing on Dragon Head Peak roared angrily, and then it leaped up and landed on Spirit Beast Peak. Its crimson eyes locked onto the Purple King, who was sitting in front of the hall entrance. Ha! Hall Master Z stood up, took off his school uniform, and shook his head. What, you want to fight with me? Chapter 1502. The drunk Yi Xingqian liked to visit the Spirit Beast Peak. Now that he had awakened his bloodline and transformed into his true form, he still went to the Spirit Beast Peak. It was truly thought-provoking. If there was a need to explain, it might be that he was now a demonic beast and had a strong perception of his own kind. King, Elder Neo said cautiously, this guy isn't simple. As the right-hand man of Hall Master Z, his true form was also a bull beast. But in front of Yi Xingqian, he instantly felt insignificant. This insignificance came from the absolute suppression of the bloodline. Elder Neo was just an ordinary beast of the falling star continent. Even if his cultivation level had increased, there was still a huge gap between him and the noble races. I can see it. The Purple King was very indifferent. This green bull was definitely not an ordinary beast. It might be from a large bull race, but so what? This king was the one and only Dao transformation Kuan. Hall Master Z was a little proud. In terms of species and bloodline, it wasn't inferior to the major races. In fact, it was even rarer than the dragon race and the stone statue race. Then, had it recovered its strength? Not only had it recovered, but it was also much stronger than before. It was already at the 7th or 8th revolution of the core revolution realm. How did it steal dragon eggs with such a cultivation level? Once again, Z's true form was the purple firmament Dao transformation Kuan. It could escape into the void and do it silently. As the saying went, there was a fish in the north, and it was called the Kuan. The kuan was so big that it couldn't be stewed in a pot. Roar! Yi Xingqian, who had transformed into the green bull, roared furiously again. It emitted an aura that contained intense battle intent. The purple king, who had taken off his clothes, raised his hand, and wore the pink boxing gloves. He said proudly, "You dare to take the initiative to provoke me. I admire your courage." Huff! Right at this moment, the green bull suddenly stood up. It was originally in the form of a bull, but it gradually became more human-like. The only thing that didn't change was that its head and body were still that of a beast. Damn! Jun Changshao widened his eyes and said, "Bull Demon King." When a bull stood up, it looked similar to a human. It really gave off the feeling of a bull demon king. What made Jiang Yi break down the most was that after Yi Xingqian stood up, it actually assumed a battle form. Its two hooves looked like boxing gloves. The purple king's mouth twitched. This was the first time he had seen a beast in its true form fighting in its human form. Who? Right at this moment, Yi Xingqian swung his forelimbs and came crashing down. The force of the explosion was like the weight of Mount Tai. Not good. Hall Master Zi's expression changed slightly. Boom boom boom. Boom boom boom. It was as though a hoof that weighed 5,000 kilograms was pressing down on the martial arts stage, causing the entire spirit beast peak to tremble violently. Very strong. Gu Zhaoxi frowned. It would be very troublesome for him to take such an attack head-on. A smile gradually appeared on Jun Changxiao's face. The effects of the genetic modification fluid were very powerful. Yi Xingqian transformed into a green ox, and his battle prowess had clearly increased by a terrifying amount. However, is he sober now? If his disciple lost their rationality after obtaining absolute power, the gains would not make up for the losses. The system said, he is now in the state of bloodline awakening. After some time, he should be able to recover his original appearance. In other words, after the genetic modification, it is equivalent to having a trump card to transform into a green ox? Jun Changshao asked. Correct. Boom 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 boom. There were continuous explosions on Spirit Beast Peak. Li Qingyang had a painful expression. Such a huge commotion would definitely bring about unimaginable destruction. As expected, when the green ox stopped, and the dust gradually dispersed, the entrance of the Spirit Beast Hall had collapsed. The martial arts stage had sunk a few meters like the bottom of a dried lake. Where was Hall Master Z? He was lying in the deepest part of the pit with a bloody nose and a swollen face. His fingers and toes were twitching. When the two hooves came crashing down, he didn't have time to escape, and could only be dealt with from all angles. To put it simply, he was KO'd by a series of moves. Trash. The green ox opened its mouth and spoke in human language. This line, this intonation, it's him, it's him, it's him, our little night melon. Jun Changshao let out a breath of relief. Since the green ox could speak, it meant that it still had its mind and didn't lose its rationality. Brother, Gu Zhaoxi exclaimed, this disciple of yours isn't simple. He actually has an extremely powerful ox bloodline. During this period of time in the sect of all times, he might be surprised by the strength of many disciples, but he wasn't truly shocked. Today, Yi Xingqian's performance didn't just shock him, it was an extremely intense kind. Brother, Jun Changshao said, you must learn to be calm in the future because there are many unimaginable things waiting for you. Many more? Many more? The corner of Gu Zhaoxi's mouth twitched violently. In any case, he was an incredible person who had reincarnated countless times. After coming to the sect of all times, everything he saw and experienced had completely overturned his understanding of martial arts. Phew! Right at this moment, the giant green ox standing on Spirit Beast Peak leaned towards the peak of the disciples' residence. Anya, what are you doing? Jun Changshao frowned and asked. It wasn't a problem for Hall Master Z to be beaten up 1,000 times, but he definitely wasn't allowed to lay his hands on his fellow disciples. Phew! Yi Xingqian leaned his ox head against the peak. His red eyes were flickering, but they would occasionally dim as though he was having an intense struggle. Brother Anyo, is that you? Huier asked with a trembling voice. Phew! Phew! The green ox's breathing was rapid, and his red eyes revealed a human-like pain. He then stretched out his right hoof with difficulty and gently touched the woman's face to wipe away her tears. With a hoarse voice he said, I'm sorry. I let you down. Jun Changshao, who wanted to stop this, was instantly stunned in midair. This voice and this tone were completely different from Yi Xingchen's style. It felt as though he was a different person. There is only one situation, the system said. What situation? Yi Xingchen reincarnated and possessed Pei Anyo. Their souls fused together. And after the bloodline awakening, he awakened a part of Pei Anyo's soul, the system said. Jun Changshao asked in astonishment. Then he is now. He is Yi Xingchen and Pei Anyo, the system said. Jun Changshao remained silent. No wonder he could say such strange words to Huir. It turned out that Pei Anyo's soul was controlling his body. Damn it. Right at this moment, an unresigned voice came from the deep pit of the spirit beast peak. Gu Zhaoxi was startled and quickly released his spiritual perception. He saw Hall Master Z lying at the bottom of the pit with a dense purple attribute and strange patterns. Hu. Hoo. All of a sudden, a majestic aura emerged from the spirit beast peak. A giant purple shadow appeared and slowly turned from a blurry state to a solid state. It looked like a fish fin with red underpants hanging from the tip. It's here. Z's original body. This is, Gu Zhaoxi widened his eyes and said, Purple Firmament Dao Transformation Kuan. My brother is right. There are still many surprises. I have to. Who can teach me how to quickly calm down? Roar. The Purple King, who had transformed into its original body, roared furiously. It was obvious that it was very unhappy about being oppressed just now. Roar. The green bull's eyes flickered with red light again, as it retracted its body and roared. At this moment, one of the beasts was standing on the peak while the other was suspended in mid-air. They roared at each other and felt like, what are you looking at? What's wrong with looking at you? Try looking at me again. Let's try. Go out and fight. Jun Changshao shouted. Hu. Hoo. Z and Anyo ran out. Boom. Boom. In the depths of the 10,000 ancient immortal mountains, a bull and a kuan were engaged in an intense battle. Although the scenes that appeared were nothing more than you punching and I attacking with a tail, the battle was extremely brilliant. This continued until a few hours later. Both of them turned into human forms and fainted on the ground. Chapter 1503. Z, who was in his original form, did not lose to Anyo, who was in his awakened form. In the end, both of them fainted together. In fact, they did not have any fans at all. Patriarch. In the medical hall, after a careful inspection, Sun Bukong took off his mask and said, There's no problem. He just needs to rest for a while. Jun Changshao ordered people to carry Yi Xingchen and Hall Master Z back to their respective residences. Then he held his chin and pondered. If Pei Anyo's soul existed, wouldn't the two of them be sharing the same body? It's hard to say. The system said. Perhaps Pei Anyo's soul can only obtain a part of the control when he uses his bloodline to transform. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and said, Poor Huir. This girl had long become a disciple of the sect. Although she did not appear often, she had always been diligent in her cultivation. Occasionally, she would go to the cafeteria to help out. She was very hardworking and virtuous. At first, Go Xing thought that Yi Xingchen might have lost his memory and forgotten his fiancée, so he tried to matchmake the two of them. It was only later that he realized that his body had been taken over. No matter what, Yi Xingchen harmed Anyo and caused Huir to lose her fiancé. System. Jun Changshao said. Can you make up for it? His disciple's rebirth had implicated a life and destroyed a couple. Although this might not be much in the cruel world of martial arts, now that he knew that the soul was still there, he really wanted to do something. The system said. In theory, a dead person can't be revived. But if the soul still exists, there might be a chance. For example, the resurrection plan of the demon ancestor. Jun Changshao's eyes lit up. That's right. This was an example. This meant that as long as the soul was still there was still a possibility of revival. Jun Changshao wanted to make up for Yi Xingchen's mistake. He wanted to do something. and that was to revive Pei Anyo, whose soul might still exist, so that the lovers could finally get married. However, the system said, it's very difficult. Jun Changshao could not deny this. If resurrection was an easy task, then the demon ancestor who had fallen 100,000 years ago would not have left behind the land of demonic affinity, and would not have relied on the blood and souls of so many demonic cultivators. Nothing in this world is impossible for those who set their mind to it. Jun Changshao encouraged himself. Even if there's only a 0.01 chance, there's still hope. A few days later, Yi Xingchen woke up from his coma and locked himself in his room, refusing to go out. He remembered everything that had happened after his bloodline had awakened, especially the words he had said when he had uncontrollably approached Hui. It's not me. This isn't me. Yi Xingchen clenched his fists, his eyes flashing with complex emotions. In his previous life, he had been schemed against by Empress Lingyao, causing his heart to be completely sealed off. He would not allow any emotions to appear, and he would not say anything mushy. Actually, if the system could guess that Pei Anya's soul had not disappeared, Yi Xingchen could naturally guess it as well. But so what if he knew? There was no way to erase it. He could only allow it to hide in the depths of his soul. No, I have to think of a way to erase the remnant soul. Yi Xingchen could feel that his state of mind had changed after his bloodline had awakened. He would even occasionally think of Hui. It was very likely that the original owner's soul was causing trouble. I still want revenge. I still want to kill my enemy. How could I let a remnant soul control my thoughts? How could I be infatuated with the feelings between men and women? Yi Xingchen's eyes and heart gradually became cold and resolute. The weak soul attack had failed, and he could only curl up in the corner. Sister Hui, are you okay? Lu Wanshi carried the dishes into the room and asked worriedly. Brother Anyu is still alive. He's not dead yet. Hui muttered to herself. So, Lu Wanshi passed the hot fried rice over and smiled. All the more you should fill your stomach. You can't starve your body. Hui wiped away the tears on her cheeks and took the fried rice, eating it in big bites. She had been hungry for a few days, so she ate with relish. Lu Wanshi sat on the side and watched her finish before leaving the room. She frowned and said, Patriarch, Sister Hui is so pitiful. Jun Changshao said, At least I have something to think about now. Although he wanted to revive Pei Anyu as soon as possible, this kind of thing required great luck. Therefore, he could only allow the two souls to be squeezed into one body for now. Sigh. The system sighed. For the disciple, the host is really worried. The matter between Yi Xingchen and Pei Anyu was not within the scope of the sect becoming stronger. But Jun Changshao took it seriously. It could be seen that in the aspect of being a patriarch, some people really could not be slandered. He had to apologize quickly. What are you looking at? I'm talking about you. Boom. Boom. Inside the life and death secret realm, Yi Xingchen crazily attacked the demonic beasts. His entire body seemed to have turned into a mad bull. Li Qingyang and the others who followed him and were all dumbfounded. Second senior brother. Su Xiaoma sent a sound transmission. Junior brother Yi is so angry. Is it because of the awakening of the Green Bull bloodline? As for what kind of bloodline Yi Xingchen had awakened, it was still a mystery for the time being. Therefore, everyone could only combine it with his previous form and define it as the Green Bull bloodline. Li Qingyang shook his head and said, It's more like he's venting. Boom. Boom. Yi Xingchen crazily attacked for a period of time, until all the demonic beasts were killed. Only then did he stand on the spot panting. The difficulty of this experiential learning was relatively high. Li Qingyang and the others were all taken care of by him before they could make a move. It could be seen that after awakening the unknown bloodline, his combat strength had indeed increased greatly. To be exact, after consuming the gene modification liquid, even if he did not activate the body transformation, this guy's blood, meridians, and muscles all contained a rather primitive power. Combined with the energy core in his dantian, he could achieve an explosive effect. Come. Yi Xingchen turned his head and said proudly, Let's fight. Li Qingyang and Su Xiaoma's expressions were wonderful. Half an hour later, everyone walked out of the life and death secret realm. Except for Yi Xingchen. All of them had crooked noses and slanted eyes. Boom! On the training field, the sound of fists suddenly rang out, rolling up waves of air. Thump, thump, thump. Woody staggered back more than 10 steps before he could stabilize his body. His hands were numb. Huff, huff. In front of him, Yi Xingchen stood proudly. He gathered the surrounding energy and gradually outlined the shape of a huge bull beast. He said lightly, "Trash." Woody was shocked. This guy's progress is too fast. A few months ago, Yi Xingchen's strength was not as good as his. Today, a few months later, he could absolutely suppress him. This fully proved the importance of cheating. At the same time, he could confidently shout, "Among the disciples of the sect, I am the strongest." Not enough. Standing in the distance and watching the battle, Jun Changshao shook his head and said, "Not enough." Although her realm had increased by 2 levels, although she had the Blue Niu bloodline, after all, Empress Ling Yao had reached the 9 transformation Dan stage, and even had the possibility of entering the truth-seeking stage. So she had to work harder. "Patriarch," Yi Xingchen said, "I want to go out and gain experience." Okay, Jun Changshao agreed. Cultivating in the sect was like a flower in a greenhouse. Only by going out could one experience the storm. On the same day, Yi Xingchen left the sect of all times. Next, the camera would focus on him. No way. Chapter 1504. Although the sect had all kinds of martial arts facilities and real stones, Yi Xingchen still chose to go there. After all, one had to experience life and death on the path of the strong. It was strange. When he left the sect and stepped into a forest, he felt the fragrance of the grass, and his heart calmed down a lot. Obviously, this was because of his bloodline. At this time, if Yi Xingchen suddenly squatted down to eat grass, no one would be surprised. After all, his body was a big green ox. Wasn't it normal to eat grass to replenish his nutrition? Where should I go? He took out the map and thought about it. Ordinary mountain training would definitely not satisfy Yi Xingchen. He needed to pursue extreme excitement, such as the Forbidden Area. Demon Ox Mountain? Yi Xingchen saw a forbidden area on the map, so he made a decision. Let's go here. From the name alone, it should be related to ox beasts. It was just right for his newly awakened green ox bloodline. Shwa! The 7-colored dazzling light wings opened, and turned into a stream of light, and flew away. A few days later, Yi Xingchen appeared at the periphery of Demon Ox Mountain. At this moment, a large number of rogue cultivators had gathered at the entrance. Some had formed teams, and were rubbing their hands, and rubbing their palms. Some were still recruiting teammates. "Brother." A weak martial artist with a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks came over and smiled. "Are you interested in forming a team?" "Get lost." Simple and neat. As expected of my brother Ox. The weak martial artist was rebuffed, and could only leave resentfully. In his heart he said unhappily, "What are you talking about?" Yi Xingchen's arrival made the atmosphere at the entrance of the forbidden area slightly cold. Because he did not release any martial arts aura, but invisibly emitted a special aura. Very strong. Everyone evaluated in their hearts. "Little brother." At this moment, a beautiful woman walked over. She blinked her eyes and said, "Can you bring me in?" "Are you talking to me?" Yi Xingchen said. "Yes." Boom! Caught off guard, the cold fist directly hit the woman's abdomen. Her whole body exploded, and then fell upside down on the distant wall with disheveled hair. "Remember." Yi Xingchen retracted his fist and said, "Don't bother me." Jun Changxiao's previous behavior was known as a straight man of steel. Anyo's current behavior could be called a beast of steel. Too ruthless. All the cultivators began to discuss in low voices, their eyes filled with dread. In the world of martial arts, women were also considered to be a vulnerable group. Since they were so ruthless in their attacks, they would definitely treat men even more cruelly. They absolutely could not be provoked. "You." The woman clutched her stomach and said in pain. Just you wait." Roar. Roar. At this moment, a series of angry roars came from the mountains. It sounded like the cry of a cow. We can go in now. Go. Martial artists from all walks of life swarmed in. As a third-class forbidden area, the Demon Ox Mountain was different from other places. Only the appearance of the Demon Ox beast inside would arouse everyone's interest. Otherwise, they would be too lazy to enter. Why? Because there were no natural treasures in the mountains. The greatest wealth was the bull demons. Their fur, flesh, and bones could be sold for a good price, especially their crystal cores, which could be used to forge armor. In the past, when people went to the forbidden area, they would describe it as exploring, because the resources inside needed to be carefully searched. Martial artists who went to the Demon Ox Mountain would describe it as hunting, because the more they killed here, the more resources they would obtain. Shua. Yi Xingqian walked in. The other martial artists were in groups, and there were at least 5 of them, but he was alone. Despicable guy. The beautiful woman who was punched gritted her teeth and said, "This grudge, I will get my revenge sooner or later." After saying that, she turned and left. At this moment, a group of martial artists came from afar. The leader was a bald middle-aged man. He grinned and said, "Isn't this Wei Sanyang? Why are you injured?" "Brother Biao." The beautiful woman's eyes lit up. She was worried about how to find that guy for revenge, but she immediately met an old acquaintance. Demon Ox Mountain. In a mountain forest with a decent scale, there were sunken footprints everywhere. From the shape, it was obvious that they were hooves. Boom! Boom! Demon beasts that looked like yaks charged in groups. Thick trees were knocked down, and huge rocks were shattered into pieces. Stop them! Don't let them escape! Quick, quick, quick! The martial artists who came in gradually began to get busy. Some of them were driving the herd, some were setting up traps. Soon, they saw that the demon beasts were either alone or caught in a net, becoming prey to be slaughtered. Yi Xingqian, who was passing by, turned a blind eye to it. These demon beasts were not strong. Most of them were at the void-piercing realm. Since he needed experience, he would definitely go deeper to challenge the higher-level ones. Of course, although he had the blood of the Azure Ox, it did not mean that he was an ox. In fact, it was just a scientific inheritance of some kind of bloodline. He was still a human, so he would not be sad or angry because of the death of the demon beasts. Shua, shua, shua. Just as he was about to leave this area and step into the deeper area, dozens of martial artists in uniform suddenly rushed from behind. Anya was surrounded. The loose martial artists who were hunting turned around to look. From the way they dressed, they were sure that this was the werewolf mercenary group. The leader was Zhang de Biao, known as Brother Biao. Look, and Wei Sanyang. I heard that this woman had an intimate relationship with Zhang de Biao. This time, she is probably here to take revenge. Everyone looked at Yi Xingqian sympathetically. It would be difficult to get out of Demon Ox Mountain after provoking such a vicious woman. All the loose martial artists in this area knew that Wei Sanyang was good at using her beauty to get the resources and connections she wanted. Provoking her was like provoking the king of hell. "Damn you!" Wei Sanyang said angrily. "You dare to hit me. You must die here today." Zhang de Biao stopped in front of Yi Xingqian and looked at him with his head tilted. Then he spat out the grass in his mouth and said, "Boy, what's the point of hitting a woman? Come, come." He moved his face closer and said, "Hit me if you can." Pa. Yi Xingqian waved his hand. In slow motion, Zhang de Biao's face tilted. Teeth and blood flew out slowly, stretching his face out for others to hit. Such a strange request. Jun Changxiao had never seen it before. Plop. Zhang de Biao landed on the ground and slid for more than 30 meters. His head hit a rock, and a clear handprint could be seen on his face. His subordinates were stunned for a few seconds. When they realized that their boss was really hit, they channeled their strength into their weapons and slashed at him. A bunch of trash. Yi Xingqian's hands surged with true spirit energy, forming a net that could be seen with the naked eye. It enveloped all the werewolf mercenary group martial artists. He said coldly, "Die. Rank 4. This guy is rank 4. The martial artists in the distance exclaimed. While speaking, the tyrannical true spirit energy had already controlled all the werewolf mercenary group members. forcing them to stand on the spot. They could only face death with fear. No. Pucci. Pucci. The true spirit energy turned into sharp swords, mercilessly harvesting their heads. Wei Sanyang was so scared that she fell to the ground. She was destined not to be able to stand up again, because Yi Xingchen turned around and looked at her from the side with an eagle-like gaze. Killing intent surged cold-blooded and emotionless. Don't kill me, Pucci. The true spirit energy turned into a spear and pierced through her chest. The system said, as expected of the cold and emotionless Night Emperor. You are still merciless to women. I admit defeat. Jiang Hujie roared. Can you not jump out and spit on me? Shua. Zhang Debiao did not care about his subordinates. He ran away as fast as he could. Pucci. However, not long after he ran, a rainbow light flew from behind and pierced through the back of his head. His body slowly stopped. Before his thoughts were interrupted, how many lines did he say from the moment he appeared to the moment he received his lunchbox? Chapter 1505. In a short period of time, the werewolf mercenaries had been completely annihilated. This scene was seen by the martial artists in the distance, and they were all frightened. As expected, this was truly a ruthless person. Seeing Wei Sanyang and Zhang Debiao being killed, the monkey-faced martial artist who was originally unhappy quickly suppressed all the bad thoughts in his heart. After taking care of the trash, Yi Xingchen took away all the spatial rings before turning around and walking towards the deepest part of the forest. Who is he? From the aura just now he is like a demonic beast. Everyone would not forget that when Yi Xingchen attacked, whether it was the eruption of his true spirit or his eyes, it was very terrifying. It was like a terrifying demonic beast that had walked out of the mountains. The werewolf mercenaries is finished just like that. Serves them right. Zhang Debiao's strength was not bad, as he had reached the second revolution of the revolving core realm. He was very arrogant in this area, and even asked for protection fees. Now that he had kicked an iron plate and was killed, everyone had the thought of setting off firecrackers to celebrate. As for Wei Sanyang, there was no need to talk about her. She often used her beauty to earn resources. As long as a martial artist followed her into the forbidden area, they would not have a good ending. Ho! Ho! At this time, roars came from the depths of the forest, and the ground began to shake violently. All the martial artists' faces changed. From the sound of the commotion, it seemed like an even larger group of demonic beasts was about to charge out. Retreat! Everyone quickly made the right choice and ran out. But when they reached a relatively safe area, they could still hear the roars and the ground shaking. But there were no demonic beasts charging out. What is the situation? Wait, there are sounds of fighting? Let's go. A martial artist said. Let's go in and take a look. There were still quite a few brave ones. They carefully retraced their steps until they passed through the bushes and saw Yi Xingchen, who was wearing the war god set and holding the heavenly halberd, fighting hundreds of bull beasts. The scene was magnificent. See, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They had only been here for a few seconds, but with one move, dozens of demonic beasts at the first revolution of the revolving core realm were instantly dismembered. Ho! Ho! The demonic beasts let out roars of fear. They were scared. They were terrified. However, they didn't have time to run away, because the human warrior with the noble aura jumped over and killed their companions, as if he was cutting grass. An hour later, the trees in this area were all broken, forming a large open area. The corpses of bull monster beasts were strewn all over the ground, and their blood had gathered into a river. If an ignorant martial artist were to see this, they would definitely think that this was a large-scale slaughterhouse. This is too scary. This is simply the devil. Seeing Yi Xingchen collecting fur, bones, and crystal cores one by one, the warriors hiding in the distance suddenly shuddered. The sun set in the west. Yi Xingchen walked out of Demon Ox Mountain with some blood on him. The training this time wasn't exciting, but he had obtained quite a lot of resources. When he returned, he could hand them over to the sect. In the past, when he went out to train with Xiao Ziji in the lower realm, he had tried to hide the crystal cores. Now that he could think this way, it could be said that he had really changed a lot. If Jun Changshao knew about this, he would definitely sigh with gratification. I didn't waste a large amount of true stones and resources to make you stronger faster. On the way, Yi Xingchen took out the map again and chose a training ground. Thus, the surrounding forbidden areas welcomed demons, and the surrounding lone cultivators welcomed monsters. Because wherever he went, there would always be a huge scene, a huge battle. This was only the beginning. Yi Xingchen still had a long way to go, especially when Empress Ling Yao was too strong. He had to put in several times, or even 100 times more effort than ordinary people. A month later, he was tired of entering the 3rd grade forbidden areas, and set his sights on the 2nd grade forbidden areas. This was a very bold decision. After all, Jun Changshao, who had rank 6 cultivation level, had once brought everyone there, and they had almost died in Death Soul Valley. Thus, good luck to the bull. Sect of all times. Li Luoqiu came to report daily saying, Patriarch, Yi Xingchen seems to be planning to enter the 2nd grade forbidden area. This guy. Jun Changshao shook his head. He is a little arrogant. He did not order anyone to stop Yi Xingchen from going to the 2nd grade forbidden area. After all, his awakened bloodline could fight evenly with the Purple King. His strength was not bad. Mealtime. Jun Changshao came to the dining hall as usual, and immediately smelled the pungent spicy aroma. He drooled and said, Lass, you made spicy fish head today? Patriarch. Yao Minjing smiled at the kitchen entrance. You came at the right time. Senior sister Lu made a very special dish. Special dish? Jun Changshao was a little stunned. Not long after, a bowl of spicy and sesame peppers was served. He said, Isn't this spicy fish head? What's so special about it? Patriarch. Lu Wanshur smiled. Try it. Jun Changshao hurriedly became vigilant, and kept a distance from the dish, saying, Could it be that you have food poisoning after eating your new dish? Go Sheng would not forget the first time he ate her new dish, and then was carried to the medical hall's intensive care unit for emergency treatment. Patriarch. Lu Wanshur curled her lips. This is all in the past. Can we not talk about it? Besides, after learning from Elder Wei, the new products I developed are all not poisonous. That's true. Jun Changshao sat down, picked up the chopsticks and said, How do you eat it normally? Let me try it. Jun Changshao picked up a piece of fish, but did not eat it immediately. Instead he shouted, Sun Bukong, quickly come over. With a doctor here, they should be able to save him at any time. A moment later, Sun Bukong rushed over. Seeing that the situation was not right, he immediately called for a medical team. They stood at the back, holding all kinds of medical equipment. As long as the patriarch lay down, they would immediately take action. Everything was okay. Jun Changshao was relieved, and boldly put the fish into his mouth. After tasting it for a while, the taste instantly filled his mouth, and his entire face quickly turned red like blood. Spicy, numb, the kind that went deep into the bone marrow. Ha, ha. Jun Changshao hurriedly opened his mouth and exhaled, saying, Water. This kind of spicy taste made him feel like he was about to spit fire. However, at this moment, not only did Jun Changshao feel the numbness, he also realized that the blood in his body seemed to be burning, and even the true spirit force in his dantian began to boil. Erupt. I want to erupt. This kind of thought filled Go Sheng's sea of consciousness. Shua. Suddenly, Jun Changshao rushed out of the cafeteria and stood on the martial arts field. His entire face was still as red as blood, and wisps of white smoke came out from his pores. What's going on? Because it was mealtime, many disciples were rushing over. When they saw that the patriarch's skin was red and his entire body seemed to have turned into a chimney, they all stopped in their tracks in shock. Husband. Rose of Flowers walked over and asked, What's wrong with you? Ta. At this moment, Jun Changshao took a step back with his right foot, bent down slightly, placed his hands on his right waist and shouted, Kamehameha. Hoo-hoo. The true spirit force in his palms crazily surged, and with the help of his arms, it suddenly pushed out, instantly forming a super strong energy beam that extended all the way out of the everlasting immortal mountain. as if it had the power to rush into the clouds. Chapter 1506. Ha! Ha! Outside the cafeteria, Jun Changshao opened his mouth and breathed out. The spicy taste was still there, but his face was gradually recovering from its red color. Just now, there seemed to be a surge of power in his body, and he could not wait to blast it out. It formed a light beam similar to an energy wave, and the scene was spectacular. Without a doubt, it was related to Lu Wansher's dish. After ascending to the upper realm, the overall strength of the upper echelons and disciples had obviously improved. As a genius in culinary arts, it was natural that they would not stop there. Therefore, they had been researching new cuisines and new products. The power that the host blasted out just now is 40% higher than usual, the system said. So high. Jun Changshao was stunned. Although the energy wave that was blasted out just now was not enhanced by martial arts, it was unbelievable that it could increase so much in an instant. Lu Wansher stood at the entrance of the cafeteria and said, "This dish is called exploding spicy fish. The peppers and chilies used are from the upper realm. With different ingredients in cooking, you only need to eat one bite to stimulate the energy in your dantian and achieve an extreme explosion." Amazing. Jun Changshao gave her a thumbs up. Lu Wansher continued, "The disadvantage is that it can only be used once." Jun Changshao had also noticed that after the energy wave was blasted out, although the spicy taste was still in his mouth, the explosive power from squeezing the energy core no longer existed. Although it was a little regretful, an instant increase of 40% in combat power would definitely play an important role in dangerous situations, and even turn the tide of the battle. "Girl," Jun Changshao asked, "how about another bite?" Lu Wansher shook her head and said, "You have to wait for 4 hours for the peppers and chilies in your body to be completely digested before eating again." 4 hours was a little long, and it was destined not to be used frequently in regular battles, but it could be used as a trump card. "Qingyang, I've sinned," Jun Changshao said loudly. "Come and try it." Yes. Li Qingyang and Xiao Ziji walked into the cafeteria and put a piece of fish into their mouths. They ran out with flushed faces and mimicked the patriarch's previous actions. Kamehameha! Kamehameha! Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 beams of light shot out. After that, more and more disciples tasted the exploding spicy fish one after another. They stood outside the cafeteria and shouted shameful words. They blasted out energy waves that dragged streams of light. The scene was very ridiculous. Lu Wansher's new cuisine was very successful. After all, without the support of any treasures, the food alone could instantly increase one's combat power by 40%. If one person ate it, they would improve, but what if a group ate it? It could be imagined that one day in the future, the sect of all times and the 10 immortal sects would confront each other. Under the patriarch's command, the disciples would all bring out a bowl of exploding spicy fish and eat it. Everyone's strength would increase. The scene would definitely be serious and passionate. Lass, Jun Changshao encouraged him, you still need to work harder. This kind of instantaneous increase in strength was not enough to satisfy him. He had to study more varieties and types. Only then would he have a plentiful backup plan to deal with all the troubles. Yes, Lu Wansher nodded and said, I will do my best to research new cuisines. Hall Masterly, Jun Changshao ordered. Pack a portion of exploding spicy fish and send it to Yi Xingchen as soon as possible. This should be useful when the disciples go to a second-grade forbidden area. Yes, Li Luoqiu immediately arranged it. Not long after, a member of the Drizzle Hall in a dragon robe rode a small motorcycle to the second-grade forbidden area that Yi Xingchen went to with the packed exploding spicy fish. Anyo, your takeout is on the way. In the dark mountain wilderness, Yi Xingchen held the takeout that had just been delivered in a daze. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. The patriarch suddenly sent someone to deliver food. Does he think that I can't even fill my stomach with the most basic food when I go out for training? There was a note on the lunchbox. The content of the note was, Anyo, this is your junior sister Lu's new product. After eating it, it can greatly increase your strength. If you encounter danger, remember to eat it. TSK. Yi Xingchen snorted coldly and put the exploding spicy fish into his spatial ring. Although he knew that Lu Wansher's food had the effect of increasing strength, such as the strength fried rice in the past, he was no longer the same as before. How could he rely on external items to get through difficulties? He stepped forward and elegantly blended into the barrier. He went in. This guy entered the illusionary soul formation alone. The martial artists outside immediately discussed. They could only raise their thumbs to show respect to the black-robed man who just walked in alone. Patriarch. Sect of all times. After Li Luoqiu received the information, she said, Yi Xingchen has entered the second-grade forbidden area. I hope he can come out safely, Jun Changxiao said. Patriarch. Lu Wansher sent a message. Time to eat. Let's go. Jun Changxiao said, let's go eat. When he arrived at the cafeteria, just as he was about to start eating, he suddenly thought of something and asked, Girl, one bite of the exploding spicy fish can greatly increase one's combat strength. What if you eat it all? This. Lu Wansher held her chin and thought. I haven't tested it before. Jun Changxiao reminded. Test it when you have time. If there are any side effects, remind the disciple to use it cautiously. Let's eat, let's eat. Boom. Boom. Inside the illusionary soul formation, a loud explosion shook the sky. At this moment, Yi Xingchen's wild nature and strength completely erupted as he fought with a huge spirit beast. The scene could be said to be very explosive. This second-grade forbidden area was similar to Demon Ox Mountain. There were no treasures inside, and the value of its existence was to train. This was because the transformed spirit beast was very real and had extremely strong combat strength. Heaven Crossing Palm Print. 7 Profound Sunglow Break. Boom. Boom. The palm print and the light beam crisscrossed. In the end, under Yi Xingchen's full power, the 4th Revolution Reincarnation Realm Spirit Beast was blasted into nothingness. Roar! Roar! At this moment, there was another roar from the void space, and 2 larger phantom beasts gradually formed. Yi Xingchen frowned. He just killed one and 2 more came. The second-grade forbidden area was indeed worthy of its reputation. Of course, Anyo wouldn't back down. He activated the text's special effect and transformed into an unparalleled war god. He jumped over with the halberd in his hand. 1 hour later, Yi Xingchen put down the halberd with a proud look on his face. The 2 giant spirit beasts behind him were already in a fragmented state. Roar! Roar! Before he finished his pose, another 4 spirit beasts formed. Yi Xingchen's expression became a little serious. After killing 2, another 4 came. If he killed them, wouldn't there be 8 more? Sure enough, after he spent a lot of effort to deal with them, another 8 spirit beasts gathered in the area. Although their strength didn't increase, their number doubled every time. Who could withstand this? Retreat. He had to retreat. Anyo finally backed down. However, it was too late. The 8 spirit beasts gathered in 8 directions, forming an inescapable net that didn't give him a chance to retreat. Roar! Boom! 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 The spirit beasts launched a frenzied attack. All kinds of palm prints and energy came from all directions, forcing Yi Xingchen to dodge in a sorry state. He even got hit by some carelessness. Damn it! Anyo staggered a few steps back in anger. The current situation was very tricky for him. If he wanted to resolve it, he had to activate his bloodline and transform into the green ox form. Wait a minute. There was still the food sent by the patriarch. Shwa. Yi Xingchen hurriedly took it out and opened the lid while dodging the attacks. He raised his head and ate the entire bowl of exploding spicy fish. He didn't even chew during the entire process. The scene was too brutal. Fortunately, it was packed and the portion was relatively small. If it was a whole bowl, he wouldn't be able to swallow the fish alone. Suddenly, there was a howling sound from the spirit array. The martial artists who were training in other areas heard it, and were so shocked that they stopped fighting. Even the spirit beasts were stunned. What's the situation? Let's go and take a look. Everyone hurriedly followed the sound. When they arrived at the scene, they saw the black-robed man, who came in alone bending over. His entire face and neck had turned red. Thick smoke was surging around his body, as though his body was on fire. Ah! Yi Xingqian clenched his fists and roared angrily. Huff huff. A scorching aura burst out along with the thick smoke. His entire body seemed to be covered in flames, like a monster that walked out from a volcano. All the martial artists suddenly shuddered. Even the 8 phantasmal beasts nearby showed a human-like expression of fear. Monster! This is a monster! Chapter 1507. Eating a mouthful of exploding spicy fish would cause the energy core in his dantian to explode. Or a bowl. Lu Wanshur did not know, because she had never tested it before. Yi Xingqian, who was in the illusionary soul array, personally tested it. Although it was not enough for a bowl, the lunchbox used to store food was at least half a bowl. It exploded. It completely exploded. Anyo's face and neck were not only as red as blood, but even his skin had changed color. Especially his pores that were emitting thick smoke, as though he had turned into a volcano that was about to erupt. Bull Demon King's son Red Boy. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. The energy core in his dantian was operating crazily. His true spirit force was constantly being compressed and stimulated to the extreme. From a martial artist's point of view, this was no longer a human, but a monster from head to toe. The spirit beasts that were transformed from special energy were also frightened at this moment, and could smell a strong sense of danger. At this moment, Yi Xingqian took a step forward with difficulty. His eyes were bloodshot, and his right hand seemed to have turned into a piece of red-hot iron. It spread to the halberd that he was holding, and the surface of the halberd was instantly enveloped by the exploding flame special effect. Divine ability, high-grade martial art. Regarding this sudden explosion, all the martial artists were guessing, but in reality, it was as though he had suddenly gone berserk, because he had eaten a bowl of spicy fish. Furthermore, the spicy taste gathered in his mouth, and made him have the urge to spit out flames. At this moment, Yi Xingqian was as terrifying as a bull. Roar! The 8 spirit beasts let out a cry of fear, and twisted their bodies to escape. All the martial artists' mouths twitched. A 4th or 5th transformation martial artist released an aura that was similar to a volcanic eruption, and scared off 8 spirit beasts. This was unheard of. Die! How could Yi Xingqian, who was in a powerful state, let them escape? He immediately rose from the ground and pressed forward with his halberd, that was enhanced by the flame special effect. He then followed up with a domineering total annihilation. Xiao's scarlet flame swept over, and the explosive force whistled. After a while, Yi Xingqian slashed down with his halberd, and the 8 phantasmal beasts in different directions shattered into nothingness. Their instincts were right. This human who was like an erupting volcano was indeed extremely dangerous. They didn't even have the ability to escape, and could only watch as he killed them. Terrifying. This is too scary. All the martial artists were dumbstruck. His strength was on par with soul beasts, but he was able to kill 8 of them in an instant. What kind of amazing ability was this to be able to increase his combat strength so greatly? Who? Yi Xingqian was panting. This was not because he was tired from consuming too much energy. This was because the spicy taste was still in his mouth, deeply stimulating his taste buds, nerves, and brain. Fight! Yi Xingqian suddenly turned his head and fixed his gaze on the crowd. The heavenly halberd in his hand was once again enveloped in flames, exuding a thirst for battle, a thirst for slaughter. Not good. This guy is crazy. Retreat! Retreat! All the cultivators hurriedly fled. Among them, there was no lack of 5 or 6 revolving core experts. His aura was too strong, and everyone was afraid. Seeing that they had all fled, Yi Xingqian suppressed his battle intent, and left the illusionary soul formation at his fastest speed. He found a small stream, and crazily drank to get rid of the taste in his mouth. As a result, the more he drank, the more thirsty he became. After eating a small bowl of exploding spicy fish, the side effect was that the taste would linger for a long time, and his skin would be as red as blood. Spicy. Too spicy. In the wilderness, Yi Xingqian's roar could be heard. In the following period of time, the surrounding area gradually began to spread. A scarlet-red martial artist would frequently appear, and thus, he was given the title of Scarlet Flame Demon. After Jun Changxiao, who was in the sect of all times, learned of Yi Xingqian's matter, he collapsed and said, "This guy couldn't have eaten all the food delivered to him, right?" Patriarch Lu Wanxia walked over and said, "I have already tested it. If you eat too much exploding spicy fish, your body will continue to turn red. No other side effects?" "No." "Then that's good." Jun Changxiao was relieved and asked, "How long will it last?" Lu Wanxia scratched her head and said, "According to the quantity, the fastest would be 10 days to half a month, and the slowest would be 2 to 3 months. Jun Changxiao asked curiously, "How did you test it?" "Hall Master Z," Lu Wanxia replied. Jun Changxiao quickly released his spiritual perception and enveloped the spirit beast peak in the distance. He could only see the purple king's body turning red as he breathed out. His body was like a piece of burning fire. Sigh. "Sorry to trouble you, Z." Yi Xingqian endured the side effects of his body turning red as he continued his cultivation journey. The disciples of the sect of all times were busy with their cultivation and missions as usual. During this period of time, the Taishan elder had been constantly installing Diablo. Batches after batches of new products were sent to the battle cavalry hall, and the quantity increased from 100 to 200, 300. Jun Changxiao occasionally came to inspect. When he saw the members activating the mecha for training, he smiled. The overall strength of the sect wasn't strong enough and couldn't challenge the other major sections. If they could equip a large number of Diablo, such as thousands or tens of thousands of them, they would naturally be able to put up a fight. The system was speechless. Eating, fighting, and activating mecha for battle. This sect is poisonous. Why? Jun Changxiao didn't think much of it. Are we not allowed to use black technology? Orthodox cultivation was a waste of time and resources. If he could use an unconventional method to increase the strength of the sect, he wouldn't mind the style issue. After all, strength was everything. What a pity. Jun Changxiao shook his head and said, "I didn't have the chance to use it in actual combat." There were plenty of Diablo, but they had never experienced a real battle. Hence, it was hard for them to display their valiant side. If there was anyone to blame, it was his master Zhenren Tonggu, who was too strong. The other major sects didn't dare to jump out and mock him. They couldn't provide Go Sheng with the opportunity to show off his existence. If it was the lower realm, after 3 years of development, they would have already beaten the Haoqi sect and the Holy Spring sect. "Master," Arya's voice rang in his ears. "Are you still interrogating that guy?" "Who?" "The Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader captured in Moyuan City. Because there were too many things to deal with, Jun Changxiao completely forgot about him after throwing him into the Tianyuan prison pagoda. If it wasn't for Arya's reminder, he probably wouldn't have remembered at all." Whoosh! With a thought, he merged into the prison. Jun Changxiao just arrived at the first floor of the prison. Before he could stand firm, the Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader said, "I'll talk. I'll tell you everything." During the time when he was forgotten, he went through countless tortures. Now he was neither human nor ghost. Because the scene was a bit cruel, I won't describe the details. Everyone can slowly experience it. "Where is Moang region?" Jun Changxiao asked. "West Sea. It's not inland," the Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader said. After the 10 great immortal sects and the powerhouses of the various clans killed the demonic ancestor, they moved the entrance of Moang region to the West Sea. Not only did they set up seals, but they also left layers of traps. Speaking of the demonic ancestor, Jun Changxiao remembered that Guy seemed to have said that the land of demonic affinity was only one of his resurrection plans. So he asked, "What's the other resurrection plan of the demonic ancestor?" The Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader was stunned. The other plan of the demonic ancestor's resurrection was a secret in the Buried Moon Pavilion. How did this guy know? "You won't talk." "Talk. I'll talk," the Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader hurriedly said. Before the demonic ancestor fell, he used his magic to split his innate holy demon body and sent it to the lower realm to find a suitable successor. When the successor ascended to the upper realm, he would activate the blood pool and gather the demonic ancestor's body. How much did he split? 10. How much has been activated now? 9. Jun Changshao held his chin and said, "Does this mean that if another martial artist with the innate demon body ascends to the upper realm, the demonic ancestor will reconstruct his body?" That's right. The Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader really answered all the questions. It was obvious how difficult this period of time was. Gurgle, gurgle. In the dark place that was similar to an altar, the originally calm blood pool boiled again. It's coming, the black-robed old men sitting in 4 positions said excitedly. The 10th martial artist with the innate demon body is about to ascend to the upper realm. Chapter 1508. One of the demon ancestors' resurrection plans was to use the blood and souls of many demonic cultivators to find a carrier for resurrection. The location was the land of demonic fate. In the end, not only was it destroyed by Jun Changshao, but it also allowed Yao Minjing to inherit the innate holy devil body. The second resurrection plan was to wait for the 10 innate demon body holders to ascend to the upper realm, and then use the blood pool to reconstruct their bodies and reappear in the light of day. The 2 plans had one thing in common, and that was the physical body. This also meant that even if the demon ancestor's remnant soul was not destroyed, he could not be resurrected without a body. Sigh. Jun Changshao shook his head and sighed. It's extremely difficult to resurrect such a big shot. How can we separate Yi Xingqian and Pei Aniu? Wait. His eyes lit up and said, since the demon ancestor has a way to reconstruct his body, why can't I? The coexistence of Yi Xingqian and Pei Aniu's souls in the body could be confirmed, but the current problem was that one was not enough. If he could create another one, wouldn't the problem be solved? The system said. The host plans to snatch the demon ancestor's reconstructed body and use it as a carrier for one of the souls? Jun Changshao, who was still thinking, immediately slapped his forehead and said happily, "That's a good idea." The system was speechless. Did I talk too much? Not only did it talk too much, it also provided Jun Changshao with a very bold plan. That was, if the demon ancestor really wanted to resurrect, he could completely snatch the reconstructed body and store one of Yi Xingqian and Pei Aniu's souls in it, thus separating the 2. However, the danger was definitely high. More importantly, no one knew when the 10th innate demon body holder would ascend. If it was thousands of years later, or tens of thousands of years later, it would definitely be far away. The system said. So it's better to rely on them all. Not to mention a physical body, at least there's a way to separate the 2 souls. The difficulty and risk will also be lower. Although it was suspected of promoting, what it said was reasonable. Sigh. Jun Changshao sighed again and said, that's the only way. To separate Yi Xingqian and Pei Aniu into 2 separate people, it would depend on luck and timing. It couldn't be rushed. However, Gosheng did not forget about Demon Alpha reviving and rebuilding her body. He asked again, where is the blood pool you mentioned? Buried Moon Pavilion headquarters. Where is the headquarters? This, Pa. Arya waved her hand and took out the soul-suppressing whip and hit it on the ground. Her small face was suddenly covered with layers of frost. The Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader hurriedly said, I've never been to the headquarters. I only know that there's a relatively important branch in Sea Monarch City. Every year, they go there to participate in the regular meetings. A dark organization that had been fighting with the Jia Hall for so long would definitely have done a good job of keeping secrets. It would be very difficult for non-core members to know the location of their headquarters. As for the second part of the Demon Ancestors revival plan, how did a branch master know about it? This was because it was not a big secret. After all, the land of demonic affinity alone was known by many of the upper realm's big shots as an opportunity for resurrection. Knowing was one thing, whether or not they could stop it was another. The land of demonic affinity created by the demon ancestor was connected to the upper realm's world origin. This was to tell the 10 great immortal sects and various clans that if she wanted to resurrect, none of them could stop her. It was a pity. The plan was not bad, but she ran into Jun Changxiao. In front of such a cheat, not only did she not take over Yao Minjing's body, but she also benefited and even integrated the bloodline of the Stone Statue clan. See Monarch City. In the main hall, Jun Changxiao took out a map and quickly determined that this city was one of the western coastal cities. In terms of location, it was the closest to the West Sea. The demonic territory is sealed in the West Sea. An important branch of Buried Moon Pavilion was established here. There should be a purpose. Gosheng speculated. Patriarch. Li Qingyang shouted. Come out and see. Jun Changxiao walked out of the main hall and found that in the west, there was a black light rushing into the sky until it reached the top and spread in all directions, forming some kind of strange pattern. He was surprised. The birth of a treasure? No. The color was wrong. The phenomenon of heaven and earth was usually dazzling. Now the black light was rushing into the sky, forming a very eerie pattern. It was hard to associate it with a treasure. It was more like a disaster was coming. West. Jun Changxiao's expression changed greatly and said, The demon ancestor is resurrected again? If the person involved heard this, he would definitely roar. Why do you say again? Whoosh. While thinking, he summoned the Buried Moon Pavilion branch leader, who was in Tianyuan Prison Pagoda, and asked, What's the situation? The other party steadied himself and saw the phenomenon in the west. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted piously, The 10th Khanate demon body has appeared. The resurrection of my ancestor is imminent. Jun Changxiao frowned. Just now, he was thinking that he might have to wait for thousands of years. Now that the phenomenon of the resurrection of the demon ancestor had appeared, he should be happy. Why was he frowning? Because the pace was too fast. If the reconstructed body of the demon ancestor could help Yi Xingchen separate from Pei Aniu, the premise was that they had to snatch it and become enemies with Buried Moon Pavilion. They had fought with the Jia Hall for so many years and had not been destroyed. This organization's strength must be very strong. Now, they might not be able to compete with them. Patriarch. Lu Wansha ran over in a panic and said, Junior sister Yao is missing. The upper realm. Black light appeared and formed a complicated pattern in the sky. All the martial cultivators could see it clearly. They thought the same as Jun Changxiao. They did not think that this was a phenomenon caused by the birth of a treasure. It was very likely that some kind of disaster was about to descend. What will come will still come. Outside the extreme grade cave abode, Jinren Tonggu's face showed a rare solemn expression. Unlike ordinary martial artists who could only judge from the color, he had already realized the seriousness of the problem from the faint demon chi that was emitted. Sigh. Masato Katano shook his head and said, I thought that the failure of the land of demon affinity would delay the arrival of this day. In the end, it only delayed it for a while. The demon ancestors' hatred for the 10 great celestial sects and the various clans must be unprecedentedly strong. If it succeeds in resurrecting this time, the disaster it will bring will definitely affect all the creatures in the upper realm, said Jinren Tonggu. It's a mess. Masato Katano said, The upper realm is going to be in chaos. Master. In the sky outside the Ling Yao Immortal, the hunchbacked old man stood in the air and looked at the black light in the west. He said, I'm afraid the world is going to be in chaos this time. The upper realm has been peaceful for too long. A new order will only be established after experiencing chaos, said Empress Ling Yao. The hunchbacked old man was silent. He knew that his master hated the realm hall, but it was a bit too much to want the upper realm to be in chaos and even establish a new order. Swish, swish. Not long after the black light rose into the sky, streams of light flew out from all over the world and headed west. Judging from the aura they emitted, their strength was all at the level of the truth-seeking realm, and there were even some at the peak of it. Who were they? The 10 great celestial sects. Back then, they were the ones who initiated the destruction of the demon domain. Now that the demon ancestor was about to be resurrected, even if the final result might not be able to be stopped, they definitely would not stand idly by. The soaring black light gradually released an aura that could disturb the mind, causing a large number of demonic cultivators to fly over with red eyes. For a moment, flying supreme treasures and traces of flowing light could be seen everywhere in the sky. Of course, there was a heavyweight in the team heading for the soaring black light, and that was Jun Changxiao. At this moment, he stood at the bow of the ship and frowned. That girl must have gone. Fine. When Gosheng left the city, not even a blade of grass grew. We can only pray for the demon ancestor in silence. Before we died, we even set up a resurrection plan. Chapter 1509. The demon ancestor was about to revive, and Yao Minjing's disappearance was definitely related to it. Therefore, even if Jun Changxiao didn't want to participate, he had to rush over. After all, his disciple was more important than the sky in his heart. Logically speaking, the phenomenon had just appeared, and the girl couldn't have flown too far even if she used the rainbow light wings. However, after chasing for a long time, he still couldn't find her. Something's not right. Jun Changxiao frowned. The ancient warship activated its speed and spread out its spiritual senses, but it still couldn't find Yao Minjing. This was really strange. Unless she didn't follow the normal route, or she didn't go to the west. Hall Masterly. Jun Changxiao transmitted his voice. Quickly send the Drizzle Hall members to search in different directions. Roger. After Li Luoqiu, who was in the Sect of all times, received the message, she immediately sent Li Tiantian and the others to fly out of the Aeon Immortal Mountain to search for the missing Yao Minjing. Jun Changxiao didn't change his direction and continued to rush to the west. In his heart, he still believed that his disciple's departure was related to this thing. As long as he reached his destination, he might be able to find her. Outside a forbidden area that didn't deserve a name, Yi Xingchen strode out. Due to the side effects, his skin was still red like blood. A supreme treasure has appeared. He raised his head and saw the phenomenon of black light shooting into the sky in the west. His eyes flashed with excitement. He left the sect to train. Now that there was a special situation, he was naturally interested. Swoosh! The rainbow light wings spread out and turned into a stream of light as he flew over. Everyone wanted to obtain a fortuitous opportunity, and the proud Yi Xingchen was no exception. However, after flying for a few hours, he unexpectedly found an extremely familiar rainbow light in the sky. He was rather surprised. Junior sister Yao? That's right. The one in front was Yao Minjing. She wasn't heading to the west where the black light was shooting into the sky, but southwest. No wonder Jun Changxiao couldn't find her. After all, the route was very different. Why is she alone? Yi Xingchen frowned. Yao Minjing was the most doted junior sister in the sect of all times, and she had just inherited the innate Saint Devil body. She was the apple of the patriarch's eye, so how could she be allowed to come out alone? No, something was wrong. At this moment, Anyo's intelligence came online. He hurriedly sped up and successfully stopped Yao Minjing. He said, "Junior sister, where are you going?" Swish! The man bypassed him. Yi Xingchen's frown deepened. When Yao Minjing passed by him, he clearly saw her eyes flicker with red light, as if she was being controlled by some kind of power. Even though Anyo was known as the eternal true incense emperor, he still had basic intelligence. Immediately, he was even more certain that something was wrong with the situation. Hence, he chased after her again and madly at her. "Junior sister, what's wrong with you?" Not only did Yao Minjing not reply, she even increased her flying speed. Something was off. "Stop her." Swish! Yi Xingchen hurriedly sped up. After overtaking Yao Minjing, he stopped in her path and said, "Junior sister, follow me back to the sect." Get lost. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A cold wind from a palm suddenly pressed over. Boom. Yi Xingchen staggered and landed on the ground. His expression gradually became serious. The words "get lost" were cold and heavy. It was obviously not his junior sister's voice. It was obvious that she was being controlled by some kind of power. Could it be that someone was controlling his junior sister's body? Hey! Yi Xingchen hurriedly contacted the nearest member of the Drizzle Hall and said, "I'm Yi Xingchen. Hurry up and inform the sect. Junior sister Yao Minjing seems to be controlled by some kind of power. She's heading southwest alone." When he sent the message, he had already chased after her. In terms of strength, Anya was stronger than Yao Minjing. He could forcefully control her and bring her back to the sect. However, he was afraid that he would hurt her. Hence, he could only follow behind and observe the situation. The intelligence agency of the Drizzle Hall had developed well in the past few years. The nearby members were gradually sent the news to the sect of all times. After Li Luoqiu received the news, she immediately informed Jun Changshao. "Why is she in the southwest?" Swish, the ancient warship changed its course and flew toward the southwest. Go Sheng wanted to see the resurrection of the demon ancestor. Perhaps he would have a chance to reconstruct his body. However, now that he knew the location of his disciple, he had to ensure her safety first. After all, Anya had said that her mind was being controlled by some kind of power. Furthermore, this time, the phenomenon had alarmed so many demonic cultivators. The situation was probably more serious than the opening of the land of demonic affinity. Hence, he immediately ordered the vanguard group of the war cavalry hall to move out. Gather. Swish, swish, swish. Outside the war cavalry hall, the members of the vanguard group were ready to go. Under the command of their leader, Zhong Yi, they all summoned Diablo and entered the cockpit in unison. Hum. Thousands of mechas were activated instantly. Their eyes were shining brightly. All kinds of energy were superimposed, forming layers of airwaves. The special effects were self-explanatory and could not be bothered to describe them. Mecha number 2 in position. Mecha number 3 in position. After hearing the reports from his subordinates, Zhong Yi, who was in Mecha No. 1, saw a few members waving batons on the runway. He immediately pushed the lever and shouted, "Let's go!" Whoosh, whoosh. The two turbine-like devices on the back suddenly emitted light. The Diablo glided close to the ground until they reached the end of the runway and flew into the sky. Then, they opened their colorful wings. The mechas and the equipment in the shop were a perfect combination. Swish, swish. In an instant, streams of colorful light flew out from the Aeon Immortal Mountain. The scene was like a swarm of locusts passing through. The vanguard group of the war cavalry hall is moving out? Something big is happening. Many Outer Sect disciples looked at the scene in the sky with envy in their eyes. This was a traditional martial Dao world. However, under the influence of Jun Changshao, they all had the idea that men should use mechas. Fuck. So many monsters. Thousands of Diablo mechas flew across the sky, creating a huge commotion that immediately alerted the nearby martial artists. They had seen similar scenes before, but this was the first time so many of them had appeared. Southwest, after flying for an hour, Yao Minjing landed in a deserted valley. The ground here was paved with stone slabs. 8 people in black robes stood on them. Their heads were lowered, and it was impossible to tell if they were men or women. We're a little late. A few martial artists in black robes and masks walked out from the darkness. The resurrection of the ancestral fiend is imminent. We can't waste time. Let's quickly set up the restriction array, said one of the black-robed men. His voice was slightly gloomy and old. Yes. The others quickly separated and stood in different positions. They began to condense strange energy on their fingers and drew patterns on the stone slabs. Buzz! Buzz! In an instant, a barrier similar to an array formation appeared and gradually converged at the entrance of the vortex. All of you, the black-robed man with the old voice said indifferently, go in. Ta. The black-robed man standing at the front of the vortex stepped forward. His head was lowered throughout the entire process. He looked a little like a walking corpse. 1, 2, 3. When all 8 of them went in, Yao Minjing was ready to move. Suddenly, a big hand landed on her shoulder, preventing her from moving. Huh. The black-robed men looked over. Yi Xingchen was already standing behind Yao Minjing. He forcefully pulled her back, and then placed the sky halberd under his feet. He said with a murderous aura, "Who gave you the courage to control my junior sister?" strong and ruthless. Chapter 15:10. First, there was the patriarch protecting his disciple. Now there was the senior brother protecting his junior sister. At that moment, Yi Xingqian had inherited Jun Chengxiao's protective nature. He would never allow anyone to harm his fellow disciples. Senior brother. Yao Menjing, who was standing behind him, held her head. Her eyes were sometimes clear and sometimes red. She said with difficulty, "I can't control my body. I am scared." "Don't be scared," Yi Xingqian said. "With senior brother here, no one can harm you." Who? Covered in energy, unparalleled war god Sect was on his body. His eyes flashed coldly like a wild bull. "Come. On the left shout star flying cloud scattering with me. On the right shout sun moon ginseng with me." "Kid," the leader of the black-robed masked men said in a deep voice, "you are delaying a very grand and sacred matter." As he spoke, he waved his hand. Shwa! Shwa! Several subordinates who were drawing the pattern rushed over. Their cultivation was all above rank 5 or 6. If it was just the demon beasts in the forbidden area, it might not be a big problem. But now they were all human martial artists. Moreover, from their aura, they were clearly demonic cultivators. This was undoubtedly a test for Yi Xingqian, who was only rank 4. "Don't be afraid. Fight." Yi Xingqian suddenly raised his halberd and said coldly, "I don't care about any sacred matter. Anyone who dares to harm my junior sister must die." Domineering, heartless Anyo. Since these people's aura was very sinister, it might be related to controlling Yao Menjing. If he wanted her to break free, the best way was to kill them all. If it was Jun Chengxiao, he might be overcautious. After all, if he was careless, he would be criticized by the readers for being cruel. But Yi Xingqian did not care. Because he was not the main character. Even if he did something wrong, the patriarch would take the blame. Die. With this thought, Anyo pushed Yao Menjing out and surrounded her with a wall of qi. Then he raised his halberd and used a move that could kill people. Not good. The black-robed men who surrounded him hurriedly retreated. In terms of strength, this young man seemed to be only rank 4. Why was his strength so strong? Because of equipment and bloodline. Even though Anyo had just entered the 4th transition, after the word's special effects were activated, the increase in his strength was especially obvious. Not to mention the fact that he had awakened the Green Bull bloodline. Boom! Boom! Powerful energy erupted, and light illuminated the entire valley. Although the men in black had dodged in advance, they still couldn't avoid the force of the halberd, and were forced to retreat. Unfortunately, their faces couldn't be seen clearly because of their masks. The leader did not expect a rank 4 to be so domineering. He immediately shouted, "Quickly snatch that woman!" This was not the time to fight. He had to quickly complete the task given by the higher-ups and take away the 9th heavenly devil body. Who? Yi Xingqian waved his Fangtian halberd and stood in front of Yao Menjing to protect her. It was as if he was an ox blocking the pass. 10,000 oxen would not be able to break through. Rob, if I can't protect junior sister today, the former sect leader Wang will write his surname backwards. Shwa! Shwa! At this time, even more masked martial artists flew out from the shadows. The number of people gradually increased to over 100. Luckily, their strength wasn't too high. Most of them were at the first revolution revolving core realm. This is troublesome. Yi Xingqian, who had just set the flag, frowned. There were so many martial artists, including several rank 5 and 6. It would be difficult for him to protect junior sister. The news has been spread for so long. Why hasn't anyone come to help? Although Yi Xingqian was vexed, he could only rely on himself now. Thus, he gripped his Fangtian halberd tightly and locked his gaze on the 100 or so men in black who were closing in on him. He couldn't take the initiative to attack, because the other party would definitely snatch Yao Menjing. Thus, he was in a very passive situation. Go! Whoosh whoosh! In an instant, dozens of men in black pounced over. With the eruption of various darkness attributes, the valley became even more terrifying. Boom! Boom! Yi Xingqian waved his Fangtian halberd crazily and forced back all the martial artists who were closing in on him. However, he was inevitably attacked by some who slipped through, and could only retreat step by step as the blood in his body roiled violently. Realm suppression, numbers suppression. Because he had to protect Yao Minjing, he was in a passive situation. Anyo's situation was very bad. Don't waste time. The leader of the black-robed martial artists shouted. Quickly kill this hindrance and bring that woman away. Yes. Everyone received the order and pressed forward crazily. Of course, because they had to bring Yao Minjing back alive, they were also restricted to a large extent. Otherwise, they would have released their ultimate moves together. Boom! Boom! Yi Xingqian held his Fangtian halberd and fought against the attacking martial artists. He remained close to Junior Sister and did not let them take a single step forward. The price he had to pay was to be attacked again and again. Thinking about it carefully, since the establishment of the sect of all times, no disciple had been sacrificed. In order to be closer to reality, why not? Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, the area where everyone was attacking suddenly flashed with golden light, causing a large number of black-robed martial artists to close their eyes and retreat. Swoosh! Yi Xingqian was still standing in front of Yao Minjing. The unparalleled war god Sect that was damaged by the attacks had been replaced by a shiny golden armor. Together with his cold face, he was instantly handsome to a whole new level. Golden Yao sacred armor? The leader of the black-robed masked man's voice was filled with disbelief. Swoosh! Yi Xingqian raised his hand, and the halberd beneath his feet disappeared into thin air. Immediately after, a similarly dazzling golden spear appeared. Golden Yao sacred spear. The leader of the black-robed masked man thought to himself, these two pieces of equipment clearly belong to Jin Hao. Why are they in his hands? Could it be that he was killed? The equipment and treasures were also stolen? At this dangerous moment, many people were waiting for Yi Xingqian to activate his bloodline and transform into the big green ox. In the end, he summoned two divine artifacts that were close to the immortal grade. What was a divine artifact? It was very godly. When Yi Xingqian put on the shiny golden armor and held the golden spear, every meridian and every pore seemed to be completely activated. The desire to fight became stronger and stronger. You all. Anyo looked up and said, you all have to die. Whoosh whoosh. The golden special effect instantly strengthened his body, as if he had turned into a golden saint. Anyo, ignite your little universe. At this moment, the light that belongs to you, the glory that belongs to you, will illuminate the entire upper world. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, the sound of wind breaking came from afar. Dense streams of colorful light appeared in the sky and flew over in a staggered pattern. The special effect was even more powerful than Yi Xingqian's sacred robe. Junior brother Yi, Li Qingyang's voice was heard. We're here. Yi Xingqian's expression became interesting. You guys didn't come when I was being ganged up on. But you guys came when I used my ultimate move. Aren't you guys trying to steal my limelight? Anyo heaved a sigh of relief. After all, they came in time, and damn, so many Diablo mechas were deployed. Junior Sister Yao is definitely not in danger. Trash. Yi Xingqian raised his spear and said coldly, you guys can go to hell now. In the close-up, the mechas behind him flew over rapidly with colorful streams of light, and then slowly landed in the valley. What did this mean? It meant that when Anyo was in danger, he had thousands of troops behind him, unlike in his previous life, where no one felt sorry for him when he was killed. Boom, boom, boom. The ground shook frequently. After a while, a large group of Diablo mechas appeared behind Yi Xingqian. Their eyes were shining like hungry beasts as they locked onto the group of trembling masked men in black robes. 101st transformation stage is a lot? Sorry, but in the dictionary of the sect of all times, group fights are the last thing they are afraid of. Whoosh! The ancient warship flew over and stopped above the valley. Jun Changshao sat at the bow of the ship and lit a cigarette. He said expressionlessly, Vanguard group, listen up. Kill them all. Yes. Zhongyi shouted, attack. Whoosh whoosh. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Thousands of huge and powerful Diablo mechas quickly walked up. It was like a group of adults surrounding hundreds of children in a very small area. They either raised their fists or raised their legs to attack. A few 4th or 5th transformation stage experts might not be afraid of these mechas, but they were being stepped on by Gu Zhaoxi and the black and white Rakshasa. They were using their faces to test the thickness of the floor. After a while, the hundreds of black-robed men were all taken care of, leaving only the leader. When their masks were removed, it was revealed that there was a crescent moon pattern on their foreheads. "Brother," Gu Zhaoxi frowned and said, "It's the buried moon pavilion." Jun Changshao landed and stepped on the face of the black-robed old man with a gloomy expression. He said coldly, "How dare you manipulate the disciples of the sect of all times? Do you believe that I will turn the buried moon pavilion into history in the next second?" Go Sheng had been keeping a low profile since coming to the upper realm, but it did not mean that he had turned over a new leaf and become a good person. If Yao Menjing had not been stopped by Yi Xingchen in time, she would have done everything she could to destroy this mysterious organization if she had lost a strand of her hair. Chapter 15:11. Because the quality of the shampoo used by the sect of all times was very good, Yao Menjing did not lose any hair, so there was no need for Jingji to jump down from Mech 66. However, was it over just because she did not lose any hair? Sorry, Jun Changshao had already remembered the Zhongyue Pavilion, and had already remembered it in the deepest part of his heart. With Go Sheng's personality, as long as he was remembered, he would become an ATM at best, and at worst, he would be removed from the Jianghu. So let's mourn for him. Patriarch, Yao Menjing said with difficulty. I still can't control my body. More than 100 members of the Zhongyue Pavilion had been taken care of. The disciples were skillfully looting the crates, but the energy in her body had not been removed. Obviously, Yi Xingchen's guess was wrong, and the two had no connection. "Let me help you disintegrate." Jun Changshao grabbed Yao Menjing's wrist, and after a round of inspection, he found nothing. Strange. Why was there nothing? If that was the case, why was her body not under her control? The black-robed old man lying on the ground sneered. "The summoning will from my ancestor is not something that mortals like you can resolve." Jun Changshao pulled him over and said, "What do you mean?" "Ha ha ha." The black-robed old man laughed wantonly with a sinister expression and said, "This girl has an innate devil body, and is destined to be sacrificed for the resurrection of my ancestor. This is a fate that no one can stop." Boom! Jun Changshao punched him, causing his face to cave in. He said angrily, "My life is your grandpa." "Patriarch." Yao Menjing hugged her head and said in pain, "I can't control myself anymore. I want to enter the vortex." She could still maintain her rationality, but the thought of forcing herself to move forward was like an irresistible order. "Seal!" Jun Changshao shouted. "Don't let her move." "Yes." Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others hurried to their junior sister and formed various barriers to restrict her movements. The black-robed old man laughed strangely. "My ancestor's summoning will cannot be disobeyed. If you forcefully stop her from doing something great, just wait for your bodies to explode." Bang! Boom! Yi Xingchen raised his leg and kicked him in the face. "I'll kill you first. I want to go in. I want to go in." Trapped in the barrier, Yao Menjing's eyes gradually turned red. Her last trace of reason was also controlled by some kind of power, as if she had turned into a walking corpse. "Damn it!" Jun Changshao's expression turned ugly. Although he doubted the black-robed old man's words, he certainly didn't dare to take the risk. Therefore, he could only look at the vortex in the distance. Suddenly, he made up his mind and said, "I want to see what is inside. Remove the barrier and let Menjing in." Patriarch, Li Qingyang, Xiao Ziji, and the others wanted to say something but hesitated. They could only obey the order and remove the enchantment that bound their junior sister. After regaining her freedom, Yao Menjing walked towards the whirlpool without looking back. Her crimson eyes became increasingly resplendent. It was obvious that some powerful force was summoning her. "You guys wait here," Jun Changshao said. "I will follow her in." "Brother." Gu Zhaoxi stood up and said, "It may be very dangerous inside. I will accompany you. Stay." Jun Changshao had already followed Yao Minjing and said, "This is an order." Gu Zhaoxi didn't say anything. Under the gaze of the higher-ups and disciples, Jun Changshao and Yao Minjing walked step by step toward the vortex that contained extremely strong demonic energy. The atmosphere around them also became very serious. "Salute!" Zhongyi shouted loudly. Swoosh! Swoosh! Thousands of Diablos stood up straight and saluted the highest standard of etiquette to the patriarch. It felt like a farewell for a hero. Jun Changshao couldn't help but turn around and kick these idiots out. Whoosh! Whoosh! Inside the vortex it was dark. The cold wind whistled like ghosts crying and wolves howling. Ta! Jun Changshao walked in and stepped on the heavy stone floor. He didn't have time to explore the surrounding environment because Yao Minjing, who came in later, had already walked forward. He could only quickly follow and be vigilant at all times to prevent any accidents from happening to his disciples. Woo-woo! Woo-woo-woo! The cold wind blew faster and faster. At first glance, it sounded like some kind of strange language. Of course, there was also an extremely strong demonic energy in the dark environment. If it was someone else, they might have already felt uncomfortable. However, with two spiritual bodies in his body, and having experienced demonic energy entering his body in the land of demonic affinity, Jun Changshao was not only fine, but also became more and more energetic. "Girl." Go Sheng transmitted his voice as he walked. Yao Minjing didn't answer. Obviously, she was completely controlled. Damn it! Jun Changshao clenched his fists and cursed in his heart. If it is controlled by someone, when I find the initiator, I will make him suffer a fate worse than death. Go Sheng suddenly found a faint light in the darkness ahead. As he got closer and closer, the light became brighter and brighter. It was a circular stone platform with rows of burning candles around it. The stone floor outlined a complicated pattern, looking very gloomy. At this moment, 8 black-robed martial artists stood in different positions. They lowered their heads and put their palms together, like devout believers praying. "What is this?" Jun Changshao frowned. The system said, "It seems to be an ancient altar. Is it related to the resurrection of the Demon Lord?" "Isn't the resurrection of the Demon Lord in the West?" Jun Changshao was puzzled. Could it be a trap? To attract the powerhouses of the 10 major immortal sects, the real resurrection point is actually here? If that's the case, isn't it too arrogant of the Buried Moon Pavilion to send 100 first transition martial artists to guard it? The system said. A mysterious organization that could fight with the Realm Hall for so long definitely didn't lack masters. If this was really the resurrection point of the Demon Lord, there must be something wrong with their brains if they didn't send someone in the truth-seeking realm to guard it. Thud! At this moment, Yao Minjing walked onto the stone platform and stood on the strange pattern that looked like the eye of the array. She lowered her head and put her palms together, turning into a devout believer. Jun Changshao observed carefully and found that there was an empty spot next to her. He came to a conclusion and said, "If I'm not wrong, these 8 people have the same connate demonic body as Meng Yao." According to the leader of the Buried Moon Pavilion, only 10 connate demonic bodies could trigger the second resurrection plan of the Demon Lord. Now that 9 of them were here, there was only one left, and it seemed to be an ascender. Could it be an acquaintance? The system said. Could it be from the Falling Star continent? Jun Changshao was speechless. It can't be that coincidental, right? Because Yao Minjing was standing on the stone platform and didn't seem to be hurt at all. He stood outside the altar and waited for the 10th connate demonic body to appear. Hum. An hour later, the lines on the stone slab began to flicker, forming streaks of light that connected to the 9 people. "It's starting," Jun Changshao said in surprise. "Isn't there one more?" Hum. Yao Minjing and the others who were standing in the array trembled slightly, as if they couldn't connect because of the empty spots. The pattern under their feet flickered frequently, as if warning them. "Not good," the system said in shock. "Yao Minjing's vital signs are dropping rapidly." Swoosh! Jun Changshao rushed over hurriedly. Just as he reached out to pull his disciple down, he seemed to be struck by some kind of electric shock, and was suddenly bounced away. Damn it! Go Sheng stood up with difficulty, feeling numb all over his body. The system said, "The 9 of them have an extremely strong barrier around them. With the host's cultivation, it's impossible to break it." Damn it! Jun Changsha roared. Why isn't the 10th Khanate demonic body here yet? From the pattern's flickering, he roughly guessed that this should be the beginning of some kind of ritual. But because one person was missing, it couldn't be completely connected, thus implicating the other 9. Her vital signs have dropped to 60%. If they drop below 20%, even if she's out of danger, there will be irreversible permanent damage. The system said. Stomp. Suddenly Jun Changshao stepped out. He didn't touch Yao Minjing, but stood on the empty spot of the array and shouted, "I'll be the 10th person, I'll be the head." Chapter 15:12. From the layout and pattern of the stone platform, it was obviously some kind of altar. Yao Minjing and the 8 men in black were arranged in an orderly manner, praying devoutly, apparently starting some kind of ritual. But there was a problem. There were supposed to be 10 positions, but there was still one missing. As a result, after the altar ritual started, they could not completely merge, and the situation was in a stalemate. That was not a problem. But Yao Minjing's vital signs were constantly declining, which proved that if they could not form 10 people, her life would be in danger. Jun Changsha was anxious. He wanted to pull his disciple out, but he could not touch her at all after the ritual started. In the end, he had no choice but to step onto the empty spot and act as the 10th innate demon body. This operation made the system's scalp tingle, although it did not have a scalp. "Are you crazy?" it roared. "If there are more serious consequences, it will not only affect Yao Minjing, but also yourself." Jun Changshao stood in the pattern with his back to the camera, and said seriously, "If I can't even save my own disciple, am I worthy to be the patriarch of the sect of all times?" Whoosh! Whoosh! After confirming that the 10th person had entered, the light rushed over crazily, regardless of whether it matched with the other 9 people, and instantly enveloped Jun Changshao's body completely. At that moment, Go Sheng's back was set off by the light, and it made people feel a strong sense of respect, and they even had the impulse to shout that he was awesome. Buzz buzz buzz. The black light was like a snake, spreading along his legs and wrists, until it completely covered his whole body. At the same time, after Jun Changshao became the 10th person, the light that had been flashing like an alarm gradually stabilized, as if it meant that someone had filled the vacancy, and the ritual could continue. Yao Minjing's vital signs are recovering. The system's voice sounded in his ear, but Jun Changshao did not have time to listen, because his body was filled with a large amount of demonic energy. He had already experienced it when he was sitting on the throne of the demon ancestor in the land of demonic affinity. Now that he was here again, with the same taste and the same formula, the feeling was simply too good. Sigh. The system sighed, good luck. It did not take the initiative to activate the crisis resolution mode. After all, the host placed too much importance on the 3 points. If they were all reset to 0 this time, he might choke to death. Hoo-hoo. More and more devil chi poured into Jun Changshao's body. He didn't scream, but clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Obviously, he wanted to fully display his character of "my life is in my own hands." Patriarch. Suddenly, Yao Minjing's voice sounded. She was still standing in the pattern, and her eyes were gradually becoming clear. It was obvious that she had regained consciousness. However, the ritual had been completely activated, and she was surrounded by a barrier, so she couldn't break free. As for the other 8 people, they had also regained their senses. They raised their heads one after another. There were 4 men and 4 women. Some were in their 50s or 60s, while others were in their 20s or 30s. Just like Yao Minjing, they had inherited the innate devil body and had ascended from the lower realm. Even though there was a difference in time, they were going to experience the same thing today. They would be sacrificed in a special way. Swish, swish. At this moment, something seemed to have been extracted from everyone's body. It turned into streams of light and flew into the sky. Then it quickly gathered together to form something like a fetus. Patriarch, Yao Minjing said in pain. My innate saint demon body has been extracted. She wasn't the only one. The other 8 people were also gone. However, Jun Changxiao didn't say anything during the whole process. Because the demonic aura was too strong, his face was gradually becoming more and more ferocious. Moreover, it seemed to be looking for something, but it couldn't find it. What was it looking for? The innate devil body. The reason it couldn't find it was because it didn't have it at all. It couldn't be helped. Since it had been activated and operated, they couldn't return empty-handed, right? Therefore, the demonic aura that had gathered in Go Sheng's body could only continue to search. Finally, it locked onto the evil aura in his dantian. Father, I'm going out with them. Swish, little Xie shouted. Then, guided by the demonic aura, she turned into a stream of light and flew up, quickly merging with the other 9 black auras. The merging process was a bit disharmonious, because, apart from Yao Minjing's constitution, the other 8 rejected it. They even despised it from the bottom of their hearts. This guy isn't on the same side as us. Why is he joining in the fun? Don't agree? That's fine. I'll just scare him a little. Little Xie crazily released her evil aura, enveloping the 8 attributes that didn't agree with her. She suppressed them with an aura of I finished speaking. Who agrees? Who disagrees? The 8 attributes weren't humans. Naturally, they didn't have any backbone. Realizing that this external attribute was a bit strong, they immediately admitted defeat and merged with it obediently. As expected of the son born in Jun Changxiao's body, she had perfectly inherited the arrogance of a Bao Nian VIP user. Whoosh, whoosh. 9 attributes and 1 evil attribute successfully merged. Slowly, they began to spread and converge into a vortex. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, Jun Changxiao, Yao Minjing, and the others on the altar turned into streams of light and merged into it. Ta, ta, ta. At this moment, many black-robed masked men rushed over from the dark area. Judging from their aura, they were quite strong. They should be the elites of the Buried Moon Pavilion. It's open, the leading black-robed martial artist said excitedly. The entrance to the demonic region is finally open. Although the faces of the subordinates behind him couldn't be seen clearly, they should be very excited at this moment. The 10 major immortal sects definitely wouldn't have thought that my ancestor divided the Khanate demon body into 10 parts and sent them to the mortal world. His real intention was not to resurrect it, but to open the demonic region that has been sealed for 100,000 years. Ha ha ha. Unbridled laughter sounded in the altar. Swish. Suddenly, a stream of light flew over from afar, dragging a black-robed man in his hand. He landed in front of the altar and said in annoyance, "Damn it, there was a small accident in the middle, and it delayed a lot of time. I hope we can complete the ceremony." At this point, he saw the vortex gathering in the sky, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. "Great Guardian, you!" The black-robed martial artist who was laughing wildly was also stunned. The next second, the 2 of them said in unison, "What's going on?" The black-robed martial artist who had just arrived was the guardian of the Buried Moon Pavilion. He was also one of the people in charge of the opening of the altar ceremony. His main task was to bring back the 10th Khanate demon body on time. But there was an accident on the way, and it delayed a lot of time. So, here came the problem. Since the person had not arrived, how did the ceremony proceed? Even if there was a mistake, it was understandable to open it in advance. But the 10th Khanate demon body was not in place. How did the vortex appear? What the hell is going on? The Great Guardian did not wear a mask. He was an old man about 70 years old. At this moment, the expression on his face had completely collapsed. It required 10 Khanate demon bodies to activate. Now that one was missing, the vortex was successfully opened. It was completely unreasonable, and did not follow the routine at all. Wouldn't they know if they went in and took a look? Unfortunately, they could not go in, because of the appearance of this vortex. Only martial artists who had activated the vortex and possessed the Khanate demon body were qualified to enter. No, no. The great guardian calmed down and said with a solemn expression, "There must be someone impersonating and sneaking in. Will there be any problems if a non-Khanate successor goes in?" The black-robed martial artist was quite worried. It shouldn't be. The great guardian guessed. To be able to merge with 9 Khanate demon bodies and successfully activate the vortex leading to the demonic region, it may be one of us. That's good, that's good. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.